Welcome back to the Comics Aficionados right here on Thinking Critical YouTube, the best damn comic book podcast and YouTube show that you'll ever find. We've got a lot of cool stuff to talk about this week. As always, we do have a panel of experts who are making a lot of noise behind the scenes. I think that was mostly Yule and perhaps a little bit of Joe in there. We're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about the comic sales. We're going to talk about Leah Williams and Omega Level Mutants. Apparently, she's above the readers. We got some new Superman comics. We're going to have a superhero fight. Good stuff like that. And who do we got, Richard? We've got MVP. Max, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Wes. Thank you again for having me. It's great to be on a panel with the aficionados, and I'm looking forward to the topics that we're covering today.
Should be a lot of fun. So you met HH from Sigma Comics.
I did. Really cool guy, and we spoke for about 30 minutes at the con. He actually had a great setup at his booth, and I was just really grateful to actually meet him in person and have him kind of speak more to Sigma Comics and his character of Calico. It was really cool. So I'd encourage everyone to go check out Here Comes Calico.
Definitely. Those guys are all over the COD scene right now. Definitely check them out if you are in the area. Who else we got? We got Yule Carter coming down off the WrestleMania high.
Yeah. That was the end of my watching wrestling, religiously right now.
You're off the wrestling train.
Yeah, I already knew I was going to take a break after a WrestleMania, and it was probably going to be like a swan song, if you will. Plus, baseball started up, and I like real sports too.
My goodness. So you and wrestling are on a break.
We're on an official break.
You're not watching AEW or New Japan?
No, nothing at all.
What the hell are we going to talk about?
We can still talk about it. I mean, I follow plenty of people that bitch about it on Twitter.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll still talk about wrestling behind the scenes then. I'm not taking a break, although I'll probably be getting rid of my WWE network somewhat soon now that WrestleMania is over. Who else we got? We got Carrie from Nerdy Girl Creates. How you doing, Carrie?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Wes?
I'm doing fantastic. Now, a lot of times you have a live stream set up already for after this one. Is that the case today?
Today it's going to be at 7 because I'm going to have Tim and Mark on, and we're going to talk about Spy Family. So it's going to be 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
It's a little bit different. So if you like Tim Lim and Mark Pellegrini from Iconic Comics and Comic America, we're going to be talking about Spy Family. And there's no X in there. That's silent, right?
Right.
I knew it.
I always wondered. I mean, you never know when you're shelving these manga. It's got this X right in the middle of everything. Spy X, Spy, whatever. Hunter X, Hunter.
Normally, after the Comics Aficionados, you go over to Carrie's channel, Nerdy Girl Creates. They got a live stream there talking about some manga. Tonight, it's going to be a special time because we got some special guests. Who else we got? We got Joe. We got the comic book editor and publisher, newly hired at Merc Magazine.
Yeah, that happened.
Well, congratulations. This is big news.
So modest. So modest.
Good for me.
What's it like working with Drew? I talked to him behind the scenes. He's not as cool as he comes off in front of the camera. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know. We don't have to get into that in front of everyone else. But,
Did you get any more omnibuses this week? Anything cool?
What was it?
People think you're in a closet, but he's really inside of a library. And there's omnibuses surrounding it.
It's true, but I didn't get any today yet. But there's a 20% off sale at Fourth World Comics for you Long Island locals that I will be hitting up after this stream, and who knows what I will come back with.
Yeah, if you're in the Long Island area, go over there to Fourth World Comics and check out Joe. He'll sign a copy of one of his comic books. What do we got? Beckstar.
Beckstar.
I almost said Baystar. I was like, it's not Baystar.
Yeah. But you know what? If you bring that to me, I'll sign it too. Why not?
Absolutely. Go get you a copy of Baystar. Joe'll sign that bad boy up too.
Yeah.
And who else we got? Jock and I just recorded our worst of the week and This Week in X-Men, which is pretty much the same video. Just doing it twice because X-Men was so bad this week. So I know Doc is extra salty this week. He's pickled. How you doing, Doc?
I am alive and I'm here, and I'm going to get to yell about other comics other than X-Men and whatever torture device you put in front of me this week that masqueraded was a comic book.
Was it Earth Prime, Batwoman #1, and Spider-Punk #1? They were awful.
Yeah, I mean, look, dude, you know, if they want to do a remake of like the Saw movies, except for you just have to read fucking comics, it's whatever the hell you put in front of me every week. That's the torture device.
People enjoy it. They like seeing you squirm.
I
Trying
know.
to get through these bad comic books. So we've got some interesting stuff to talk about. We've got some good stuff, some bad stuff. Let's start with the scary comic book sales numbers. This Tilting at Windmills newsletter that came out, that's Brian Hibbs from, I think it's Comic Experience in San Francisco. It gets released on Comics Beat, and it's basically a breakdown of all the comic sales through MPD Bookscan, which essentially is accounting for like 85% of all book sales nationwide. So this is a large, very well procured numbers. These are sales to customers. Now you are a comic book retailer.
Yeah.
But these aren't exactly your numbers because you're not using Comic Hub.
No, so these are sales to bookstores, not comic book stores, with the exception of the Comics Hub people, which is a point of sale system that comic stores can get involved with. Most comic stores don't use that. They'll have either the Diamond one or Moby, which is the one I use. And so Hibbs suggests that maybe at best Comics Hub is like the #2 POS. And
so these sales aren't direct market. They're not comic shops like your store, Fantastic Comics, or Hibbs' store. Well, he's probably on Comic Hub. But
I think he's Moby also, actually. So he's not even in Comics Hub.
Yeah, what Larry's saying right there. These are entirely separate from the direct market. These are through bookstores with a very small portion of actually direct market sales in there. What did you think about these numbers? Because it feels like the rest of the comic book industry, at least in bookstores, are kind of passing DC and Marvel by.
Yeah, it's it's frustrating. I guess what happened is that we're just talking about casuals, I assume, that go into bookstores. I didn't even know there was that many bookstores anymore.
What also encompasses Amazon.
Oh, that's
like
right, Amazon. Yeah, exactly. It's rough. People are looking for material, but it's not the material that the main companies are putting out. And when they are getting on that list, it's usually the older stuff anyway. So who cares about what's coming out? Except in the comic store, because, you know, I could say that I can see a dip in DC sales or Marvel sales, but, you know, adjusting and trying to excite people in comics, I know, you know, what it sells in my store and what I think is profitable, or at least, you know, a reason to keep it coming in. It doesn't totally jive, but again, it just depends what your store's makeup is like. Also, I don't sell the books quite as often as I used to. It might have been a lot more of a different story if we would have talked maybe like 7 years ago.
I just think it's insane the amount of new customers that are coming in, you know, which is being weighed out by the numbers of actual volume that they're moving. They moved more books in 2021 than they did in 2018 and 2019 through book channels combined. That's a lot of comic books, and almost all of it is Scholastic and Manga. Shocking. So you have all these new customers, these new comic book readers, and they're not going into what we would traditionally think of as comic books, at least in, you know, North America, your Marvel, your DC. They're taking these different avenues. As a comic pro yourself, Joe, what did you think about these numbers? I thought that was terrifying to see this.
Yeah, but we all kind of had an idea that the numbers were going to be like this. We've known for a while now, Scholastic and Manga.
I didn't think it was going to be this bad.
That's fair. One thing people aren't bringing up is that Marvel not only didn't get on, I know that the Miles Morales Scholastic book did, but Marvel didn't get on there at all. IDW did, with a volume of Sonic the Hedgehog, which there is no better time to be a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog with Sonic 2 in theaters right now.
Wow.
Look
Hi,
at that
shameless plug.
Yeah.
And they gave out comic books for Sonic when you went and
That's
saw
awesome.
the movie. They asked me and my friend Fish, because we're adults, if we actually wanted these, and we were like, yes, we do.
We'll take the comic books.
So, but yeah, I mean that's crazy, and obviously Dark Horse with a lot of the manga.
IEW was on the
was on
chart a
that
little
list.
bit more than that too, because they have that
Yeah.
imprint that they bought where they had those what is it? Those autobiographical comics. I think it's Top Shelf.
Right, yeah, Top Shelf, yeah. So yeah, you have books like March and they Call This Enemy and all that stuff on there. So and that's that's a lot to get up there. And DC, while we see, and I'm sure we'll talk about it later, like the more direct market stuff where DC has been slipping. While DC is slipping on this, they are still doing way better than Marvel, which is crazy. It's insane that stuff like Infinity Gauntlet and all that, those books aren't on the top 750. This isn't like a top 20. It's 750. It's crazy.
DC was the number one seller of comic books through the book channel until 2015 when Scholastic took over. And I believe up until 2018, they were the number 2 publisher. Now they've dropped all the way down to number 6. They had 17 titles show up there, and a lot of them are old things. And then we did see a lot of the like Raven Loves Beast Boy and stuff, Carrie. So there's clearly a market. Like, I think almost everything that wasn't manga in the top like 150, except for 3 comic books, were aimed directly at children.
Yeah,
I think DC and Marvel might have just killed kids in the rear view with their prices, and they don't really write many books at all, other than like maybe Strange Academy for kids now.
This is true. I don't see too many comics really aimed at kids. I see a lot more kids going with stuff like you were talking about with Dogman and stuff like manga, because manga gets advertised all the time. If you go through Books A Million, you go through Barnes & Noble, they're always having ads for deals on manga. They're also having ads for deals on kids stuff. I mean, they're really advertising it a lot more than... And I think Joe brought up a good point before, like with Sonic the Hedgehog. You don't have too many of the comic book companies using the movies coming out as advertisement for their comics.
You also don't have many of the comics actually reflecting the fucking movie at all.
Exactly.
Yes.
I mean, Marvel's been famous for this since they released Avengers. Hey, let's release this giant, massive billion-dollar movie and then change all the goddamn characters in the comics, because that's brilliant.
It's like I think the only thing they did was with the Batman, but they were advertising the old graphic novels that they took for the movie.
Yeah,
Which at least something. At least they advertised it.
As something.
but
They go to your shop and buy some comic books.
and you may see some of those as a result end up on this list if they weren't already on it this year. That may spike the sales on those to get them up onto this 750 list next year when this same report comes out next year. That's that's, I mean, that's something that you can track. That's something that would be proof one way or another, whether or not there's a way to impact comic sales, or at least graphic novel sales through the book market, with co-promoting it and synergy with a movie release. Because up until now, there is, I mean, there's a lot to be said about the fact that movies don't actually sell comics. There's a long history proving that, but at the same time, there's also a long history of the movies being totally fucking different from the comics. So it's hard to tell. Now this is a fun list. I just love watching the whole. Honestly, I truly love the comics market getting just completely bitch slapped in the book market, just to show that's not your market. It's not going to sell your product. and you're
Well, they're
losing
selling
ground
comic
every
books
year.
there. Their product is comic books. There's more comic book readers probably now than ever.
I understand that. What I'm talking about is, first of all, I still question whether or not I consider Dogman comics. I'm not. I understand it's sequential art, blah blah blah. I also don't put Calvin and Hobbes the same place that I do,
No, that's comic strip.
Marvel and DC. I if I'm putting Dogman on there, I'm putting old school like golden books from like the 70s on there too. So
Well, I bet they don't crack the top 750.
no, because everybody still has their golden books from the 1970s, and they don't have to buy them anymore because those things held up like a son of a bitch.
Those I've got golden books in the store. That actually you say that the comic books don't reflect the movies. They actually reflect the movies. You get the Star Wars ones, and they'll do a golden book version of the movies. They've got Captain Marvel, Black Panther, all sorts of other ones out there, and it's just they still are making golden books, and they probably would rank higher than we think if it was on the same list.
All right, so let's throw it over to MVP. What are your thoughts on this? Were you concerned? Do you think it's interesting? The good news is there's more readers and there's an enormous amount of growth. The bad news is people just aren't transitioning it over to Batman and Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's tough to say because I'll kind of put it in personal terms. When I was studying kinesiology and exercise science in university, one of the things that we always were doing was, or one of the things we always did was we looked at articles basically claiming different nutrition styles, different exercise routines that would help different people with different genetics and how that would relate to like our field. And so we'd find articles and we'd have to present them to the class. But it was always interesting because you could find one article stating that this is like the right amount of nutrition or the right amount of calories, and then another article right next to it that would basically say the exact opposite. So we'd always have to bring in our own experience. And so with this, I think it really just speaks to people who need to be in these comic book stores, people who actually need to be reading, because they are going to be the ones with the experience to talk about this stuff, like the aficionados on this panel that read these comic books, that are actually in this industry, that have the experience with these books, that can speak more to some of these sales. Because I see a lot of channels on this platform that go, comic books are doing better than they ever have. And it's not necessarily in that same vein. There are nuances to that, and there are articles that can disprove or prove that. But I think this one that you're speaking of, Wes, really goes to show just how kind of the experience shown in these comic book sales. And it isn't like it's not just fluffing numbers or anything. Like, this is actually what we're getting. So it's kind of interesting to see all that.
Yeah, it's actually the raw data. And if you want to say the comic book business or industry is bigger than it's ever been, that's an absolute truth when you look at what manga and Scholastic are doing. But right here on this channel, we talk about superhero comics for the most part. We talk about the direct market comics, the comics books that go in there, DC, Marvel, Image, Boom, and stuff like that. And there are certainly some of those publishers that are doing better than others. But right now, they're just lagging behind. They're not growing with the interest that is growing in comic books. And I think that's like one of the big takeaways here, Joe, is how many opportunities can Marvel miss where they should be having tremendous growth and driving people over to Yule's shop at Fantastic Comics, or driving people over to Larry's Comics, where you have the MCU blow up and the interest in the character of Iron Man is like it's never been before. Or you have right now where you have this enormous boom going on where you have all these kids getting in there and reading, and Dogman is different than Spider-Man. But there needs to be something featuring Spider-Man that's kind of similar to the Dogman, where they can kind of transition over and potentially go down that route and end up to the direct market and keep our comic shops and everything thriving, because without new readers, it's impossible.
Yeah, and you can see some of that working with stuff like the Miles graphic novel, having Scholastic do it. I don't know what their future is going to be, if they're going to keep licensing it out and have them do it, if they're going to bring stuff in-house again. Because that Miles book was part of, I think, 3 or so Scholastic books. And the Miles one got there, and the other ones didn't even register. So that also tells you something. There's interest in a character. You know, it might be something insane, like there's actually a movie with the character that was successful and well regarded. So maybe that's what drove people there. But there was that like Spider Ham book, I think was one of the other ones I was thinking of. But
I was thinking of that Spider Ham one, but yeah, that you mean the Scholastic version of that one, right? Yeah, that one did pretty well. It's nice because the price tag is a little bit more expensive than the comic books, but you get a lot more, it feels like, and the story is possibly better. Yeah, like it's they're written for the people that are going to be reading them, as opposed to, you know, someone that shouldn't be writing a kid's book writing it. And I understand, you know, it's tough to write for kids, you know, because they're going to sniff out and know this is some BS, you know. But they did a Spider-Ham comic book back in the day, like when that movie came out, and you know, it's a $5.99 book or something like that. You know, it's part of a very convoluted mess to have to follow the story through different Spider-Man books or whatever. It's just when they do actually get people to pay attention in the comic store, it's hard to, you know, I have to read this stuff to know how to sell it to people. It should just be pretty obvious, and it's often not.
Yeah, no, because I mean, you've seen over the last few years, it's going more and more into, you know, the variant covers, the relaunches, all that stuff, and clearly that's not just hurting stuff in the direct market, it's also hurting stuff in the book market, because it's hard to think of that many other clear reasons why you're seeing these dips. They don't promote books after issue 1 or after a new creative team goes on the book, and you're just watching these numbers, you know, really collapse in the markets that they used to really play in, that are bigger than the direct market, and it's just baffling.
Well, I think I was just at a bookstore literally yesterday and was looking around. I figured I'd glance in at the graphic novel section and the manga section, because they're always right next to each other. And I know Perch has done pictures of it, but it's so startling how differently those shelves look when you look at it. There is almost, I mean, I'm sorry, when you look at the comic book and like graphic novel section there, it is utter fucking chaos. There's not even an attempt at some form of uniformity, even in format size.
There's too many companies. You know, it's like, all right, well, maybe Marvel and DC get their act together and do it, but then some other company like Dark Horse puts out a sideways comic book.
Yes, exactly. And then somebody else goes, "Oh, let's make ours the same size as a 1980s like vinyl." The big albums.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck does that? Does it make it? You look at that shelf, you can't find a goddamn thing, even if you wanted to.
At a Barnes and Noble, it is difficult. At a bookstore, it's going to be difficult because it's not, it's not set. They're just taking the American comics and they're just shoving that stuff alphabetically if we're lucky. Yeah. And maybe if we're lucky, somebody goes in and then rearranges it because they wanted to look through it. Yeah, exactly. But, obviously the manga, more often than not, it looks uniform, whether it's Viz or 7 Seas or whatever company is out there. Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't make itself hard to be sold to you.
Right.
That leads into this super chat. Let's get to this one. We do have a few of them lined up. We've got Wakazashi's Tea House, 500 yen all the way from Japan. Simply, why does this awesome panel think manga is selling so well these days? This is from a long-term American comics fan. Best wishes. Doc is getting in there. It's certainly more pleasing to the eyes when you go to the manga section, But there are certainly some other reasons for that. We'll throw it to Carrie here in a second. She's more the manga expert. I do think the anime staying so true to the manga themselves is absolutely beneficial. But I do also think that the Shonen Jump app being $2 and giving you direct access, and when you are interested in something, it'll tell you where it is and and remind you they might want to buy it and stuff like that. I think that also plays in heavily to that. What do you think it is, Carrie?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you're going to pay only like $1.99 and have access to almost every kind of manga Shonen Jump has, and you're getting the chapters every week as they come out, unless the writer's on a hiatus. So you're always getting new material every week. And to add on to what Doc was saying about going into the bookstore, he's right. When you first walk in, they'll even have tables set up in the middle aisle with manga. I don't see tables set up for graphic novels. Yeah, special displays, because they know that's what's selling.
When you got 73 different format sizes for the things that you're trying to sell, it makes it hard to set up a table.
That's another good point too.
Well, I mean, imagine the employees are the same as the people that are buying these books, and they don't care about Marvel and DC and other companies as much as they already.
Shop. It's a bookstore.
It's a bookstore, and you know the graphic novels of comics often look like just thicker comic books, and you know, setting up a nice display and it's all Dragon Ball Z. You don't even have to throw anything else out there. It's a lot easier. Oh, I got all this One Piece, and what are we going to do with it? Set it up on a table. You can't do that with Spider-Man and Hulk and Batman. These things don't connect necessarily, and I have to think on top of it.
And I think
so you go to the table and boom.
Yeah, and another reason, and Wes has brought this up multiple times as a channel, is you can start with volume 1 in manga. So if you're getting into something, you start with volume 1. Where do you tell somebody to start with, like, American comic books?
Well, you like pre-crisis? You want post-crisis? Are you in a flashpoint? Do you like Rebirth? Depends on what Spider-Man or Batman you like.
And that you get to a certain point, and then this is where the crossover happens. And while it's a novelty, it's terrible for collected editions. It's a nightmare.
Oh yeah.
You gotta. Well, does this go in the Spider-Man X-Men crossover that was 6 issues long? Does that go in the Spider-Man section? Does it go into the X-Men section? Do you have to buy it twice? Do you have to buy only the? Do you have to buy the Spider-Man collection that the Spider-Man issues are in? Can you buy the X-Men issues? Oh wait. Well, fuck. Then, God damn it, the Avengers showed up for 1 issue. Now you got to go grab their collected edition for that 1 issue you wanted to read. Just go buy back issues. There's no way to do it.
By like the mid 80s, early 90s, like if you look at those epic collections that Marvel's putting out, it's like Spider-Man, Peter Parker. You're like, that's okay. But you go on a couple another 5 or 10 years, and all of a sudden it's web. It's it's spectacular. It's amazing. It's this unlimited, and on and on and on. And you could do that with X-Men. It was always just one book, and then maybe they crossed over with New Mutants for a minute. But then it's like Uncanny and X-Men and X-Factor and so on and so forth. And it's you can't collect them that way afterwards.
Yeah, we do have Darth Bobcat as well saying, do these numbers count Amazon in online?
Yes.
They do count Amazon. I bet you they don't count everything online. They have to report them through MPD, but they do count Amazon. And most of, like, all the really big retailers are all going to be a part of these numbers. That's why they're so accurate.
So if there's still like a Walden Books online, I don't know what the online booksellers are. If you buy your stuff through the standard book channel market, then yes, it's included in these numbers.
Wraith X7 says, changing the comic book versions of the characters to reflect their live action and TV versions of the characters hurrying big 2 comic sale.
Yes.
Well, I think just the general confusion in the characters, really, Joe. There's like 15 versions of Batman right now. Which one is the real Batman?
Yeah, and then which movie Batman is the Batman we should be expecting in the comics? And it's none of them. And now there's more Batmans because we're going to get Michael Keaton back as Batman, plus, Robert Pattinson Batman, and Ben Affleck was just recently Batman, and people still like Christian Bale Batman, and they're all different kinds of Batman. And then they made animated versions of those Adam West Batmans not long ago. And
those aren't good.
No.
I wanted that to be so good, and it just wasn't.
And even the Batman '89 title that a lot of people thought they were going to get kind of a continuation of that story, it was just Batman in 2021. You know, it didn't seem like it was
Weird.
Batman in '89. Whereas the Superman title by Robert Venditti, I think, even though it didn't sell well, I think that one was an actual successor to the films. But yeah, you know, excellent work by our man Robert Venditti, who I know is a big, you know, Wes has had him on the channel and everything. But
very lucky to have him. It was nice.
Yeah, which was really cool. So, but yeah, it's odd how some of these books, only reflect like a certain, depending on the creator and the writing team or the creative team or whatnot, will reflect what the film version is, or vice versa, film to comic book.
Wraithx continues. He says, to clarify my earlier comment, I'm talking about the tail wagging the dog synergy, where the comics are changed to resemble the latest films and TV series.
Yep.
That's certainly been going on for a while. I mean, that we had a pretty big change as far as the TMNT comic books that end up reflecting the cartoons. You know, the X-Men comics were changed drastically, Doc, to reflect the big 90s cartoon that was so popular.
Hell, the entire Grant Morrison run was done to reflect the movies. We're sticking them in black leather because Bryan Singer, I mean, they literally let some guy that doesn't read fucking comics decide what the comic book characters look like on screen, and then change the comic book characters to look like that. That's you've seen that multiple times. You know, Cap rarely even wears his damn helmet anymore. They started changing the way that Tony Stark was drawn in the comics to look like Robert Downey Jr. They eliminated real Nick Fury to go with the ultimate Nick Fury in the main Marvel universe, and then jump through massive fucking hoops to turn Marcus Johnson into Nick Fury. I mean, come on. That does not help. Look, you're trying to sell, you're already going to sell the comic, like the movies, to the comic readers, but you're also going to turn on, they're doing a terrible job of selling the comics to the moviegoers, and changing it though, but also pisses off they're both, it's funny because they don't actually do anything to promote the comics to the moviegoers, but they change the comics to look like the movies, and all it does is piss off the actual comic readers. But they never brought in any of those moviegoers because they never sold it to them. They never even fucking advertised it to them. And they wonder why their sales keep going down. Jesus.
But there's a mix here, because it's what you're saying, but there's also like there's this trying to synergize things, but then there's also no synergy at the same time, which I think is the frustrating thing.
Go to the YA graphic novel Gotham High. You get one version of Batman, remember, it's completely different than the Batman that you're going to get within the Batman comic book that's going on right now, which is different than the Bruce Wayne that is in the Batwoman TV show right now, which is completely different than the Bruce Wayne that's in the movie right now. And it's like, well, who is Bruce Wayne? I don't know. He's everything, I guess.
Yeah, because some of that's happening, but then you get things like, okay, you get a Doom Patrol TV show on HBO Max. They had Gerard Way and all that doing Doom Patrol. It stopped right before season 1, so there was no new Doom Patrol comics. They brought it back after the season ended. Before season 2 started, they ended the book again. Like that kind of stuff. And then now we've got the death of Doctor Strange, Clea's Doctor Strange, a month before the movie comes out, featuring Stephen Strange. Like there's these like weird things where it's like, okay, you're trying to synergize stuff, and then like you're not, and then you are with some things, and then you completely miss the mark with other things. You know, like Peter was in like a coma when like No Way Home came out.
Yeah,
like that kind of stuff. You're like, what are you doing?
Yes, it is the most. It's like, look, I'm sorry. Once again, I come back to anyone that was anything above a D student in marketing and advertising is not going to work in comics because every other industry pays better for marketing and advertising than comics. That's why when Daniel Cherry came in, I laughed. I'm like, oh, you think you got a great marketing and advertising guy? No, because if he was any fucking good, he wouldn't be working in comics.
All right, so we got another super chat. This was from JQ App. Not entirely true on the part of Marvel. Back in 2003, Daredevil and X-Men, artistically speaking, look like the movie actors. This was a dull, trite move. Euro Comics getting better, tracking up in previews back. Obviously, Doc had talked about how Grant Morrison's X-Men was changed to look like the movies. And certainly the Spider-Man design was also as well.
It's the people in the movies, like they always have to change or take people out of masks.
Yeah, well,
show the real face. So even when they are doing things like Daredevil and X-Men, they're kind of screwing it up a little bit too. It's always the people in Hollywood that are saying, oh, well, this has been a popular thing for 60 years. Let's change it.
Well,
it won't work for us,
Their egotism won't allow them to do an adaptation.
Well, it's just like scripts in Hollywood. You write one script and then a bunch of monkeys get together and rewrite it a bunch of times. And it's the same thing with like, oh, well, this superhero would be a little bit cooler if like we changed the powers or what. They were right in Miss Marvel's case, though.
Hey, they made Kate Bishop a lot more likable character in the MCU than they did in the comic books.
That is true.
Marginally.
There was back with the John Wesley Shipp Flash in like the early 90s, the original design for that costume that they tried to do was like a tracksuit.
Huh, I never saw that. How did it look?
I don't know. I'm not sure if it ever like got out there, but that was one of those things that they were going over at DC with like Jeanette Kahn. And then she was like, oh, that sounds great. Why don't I go over there and check it out myself? And she flew out there and made them change it.
Well, I don't know. Buff Flash was kind of weird, but overall, he still looked the same.
Yeah.
John Wesley Shipp is a national treasure. Dawson's dad on Dawson's Creek is a great actor.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Flash TV was Barry Allen. Flash comic book was Wally West during that time.
That was Wally at that time.
Same costume though.
But you had the same thing with the 1980s Punisher movie with Dolph Lundgren. You make a Punisher movie and you don't stick the fucking skull on anything except for the bottom of the magazine of his pistol.
That's got to be like the. That's
of
all the things to ever change in all of comic book movies. That was the dumbest thing ever. I would say.
If you want to see a good Punisher movie, you got to go see Punisher Warzone.
Yeah. Warzone was the only good one.
Yep. We got your friendly neighborhood baker says, Yule, I constantly see new publishers and previews. Are there any new indie books lines you're excited about? I read a Black Caravan book that was great. Before Yule answers this, I do want to say Artist Elite comics are coming out very soon. They've also got Merc Magazine. Drew from Comics Elite is one of the writers from Merc. But Artist Elite's going to have like Brett Booth, Ali Garza, and all these really great artists. So I'm excited about that.
Nice. Yeah, I think a lot of... so is that going to be in previews also? Are they going to be in previews also?
They're being distributed, I believe, through Lunar. And it'll be coming out in June.
Oh, very good. That's excellent. Joe's worked for Mad Cave with Beckstar. A good book. Another good book that they do is Nottingham. I haven't read any of the other books. Yeah, it was I already sold out. Pretty good. I mean, there's a long hiatus, so I was a little bit worried on whether or not people are going to want to stick on, but it's done well for me so far. Fantagraphics, they've been around forever, but they're publishing Red Room and a few other books, sometimes monthly or somewhat monthly. Love and Rockets, things like that. So I would recommend them. Dark Horse still has good books out there. Anytime Matt Kent is working for a company, boom, Dark Horse, I'm sure he'll be doing something for Jeff Lemire over at Image eventually. Write a side book or something. Anytime he's doing something, I'm usually on board. Those are usually it's creators a little bit more than companies. But, once you get there, you realize that the company probably has an aesthetic that you're down with. I think that Oni and Vault and Scout could all become one company, and you wouldn't know the difference between any of their books, except one uses a gimmick cover more than the other or something like that.
I agree. If there's another publisher out there that people should know about it, they're called Ablaze. And one of the things that they're doing is they're going to the European market where graphic novels have been successful there, and they're picking the very best ones out. They're paying for them, and then they're releasing them in the U.S. as single issues. So like the Sumerian comics that we're getting out, those have already been released in book form, and they're coming out in individual issues. I believe Zero Life, that zombie book with Marco Cicchetto as the artist, I believe this is actually earlier work from his career that's already been published, and they're finding the very best stuff from Europe that they can get their hands off and putting it in America. Almost everything there is really good.
Yeah,
they're also doing South Korean. I'm sorry.
No, don't worry about that. I was just gonna say, I know Kevin Kettner over there, and they do good.
He has a good eye for books, Joe.
Yeah, and he used to be over at Dynamite and then left to do this over at Ablaze. But the Captain Harlock stuff over there is really good too.
Mm-hmm.
And Black Caravan specifically, that's like an imprint of Scout, I want to say.
Yeah, it's the horror imprint.
That's the one that has Space Riders, I think, right? Is that who does
something
that
like
one?
that? There was the Spider one too. I'm blanking on the title, but that was a good one. But there's a lot of interesting stuff. I would throw in like TKO puts out some decent stuff too.
AWA.
Yeah.
They have some. They'll have a book that you probably will like, and it may or may not coexist with their little universe that they're doing.
Yeah,
I don't see much of Humanoids, but the one book that I can highly recommend is Space Bastards from Humanoids. If you guys want like a fun, that one's great.
That's the Derek Robertson one, right? Derek Robertson, I think, yeah.
Yeah,
Kenneth Dowling is in the house. He says, "Rise and shine, folks. I hope everyone's weekend is starting off well. I know mine is now that I'm watching the Comics Aficionados. Everyone hit that like button. Yes, please do. We're almost at 300 live viewers. We've only got 83 likes. So if you want to support the channel, definitely go give us a like, a Ruski. Let everyone know that we're having a good conversation here. And thank you very much, Kenneth Dowling. He's got another super chat. Will the real Batman please stand up? Kevin Conroy, as I've said many times, is the number one Batman. My favorite on-screen Batman is Christian Bale. Come at me."
Kevin Conroy, what is it, the voice actor?
Yeah, for the Batman animated series.
Mm-hmm.
He's good. He's good.
I don't know. I just think the physicality of Ben Affleck as Batman was brilliant.
Yes.
I don't know that he was a great, Bruce Wayne, but as a Batman, he was great.
If he would have played Bruce Wayne a lot more like he played that guy from the store in Mallrats, it would have been
the
better.
Dickhead?
Yeah, the dickhead that was banging.
Was it Comfortably Male or something like that?
The Casual Male.
Casual Male.
That's it.
He's got the huge oversized blazer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially if he always was trying to bang women
in an
very
uncomfortable
uncomfortable
space.
Yes, in an uncomfortable spot, like the back of a Volkswagen.
Yeah.
So I thought his physicality, but Christian Bale was a good Bruce Wayne. He was a layered character. His Batman voice was awful though.
Yes.
Yes.
That might be directing though, for all we know. There's always somebody moving pieces around, and we don't know exactly who when.
You're thinking about it too much. He's got to have a new voice.
Yeah.
No.
Who's done the best Batman Bruce Wayne combo? Like, who's the
Michael
best?
Keaton, right?
Playing
Keaton.
both. Keaton, you think?
He didn't really have the physicality, but man, he was a great Bruce Wayne.
He's good, yeah. Like I thought, Val Kilmer was kind of a cool Bruce Wayne, but not a good Batman, and it's been that way for most of the people, or maybe it was more like George Clooney was that way.
Clooney was
kind of
the worst.
Batman.
Period. The
Well-
Cloon was the worst.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Val Kilmer, a blonde Bruce Wayne, was just wrong.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan necessarily, but yes, sir.
Also, his first line in that movie is like talking to Alfred, being like, "I'll get drive-through," and it's like, well, this sucks.
Yeah.
Don't they talk about how soft his lips are or something in that movie?
At some point, yeah.
God,
Which one
get
was
outta
the
here
one with
that
the bat
crap.
nipples? Was that Clooney?
That was
Clooney.
That's the
Clooney.
Yeah,
Clooney
it
had
was
bat
Clooney.
nipples.
Yeah.
That worked.
Yeah.
But what was it? Wasn't Nicole Kidman or whatever in the
Yes.
third one
Batman
who was
Forever.
Yeah.
like over the top horny for Bruce the whole movie in a way where it's just like, whoa, calm down like a little bit.
Come
It's
on,
a
Pepe Le
PG-13
Pew.
movie.
Let's bring it down a level here. My goodness.
That was crazy.
We got your friendly neighborhood banker. Name the characters that are better in movies than in the books. Well, Kate Bishop is definitely better on her show on Disney Plus than the books. I don't know if that's a movie though.
This
I
is
know.
like
As well include him.
but
Yule's
I
definitely
may-
going to go
I
with the
might
Eddie
say-
Brock from Venom, right?
I never watched
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I don't know. I have to.
Don't watch that.
I have
Not a
to
good
go
Venom.
through my bank of movies and try and figure this one out. So go to somebody else.
Alfred Molina.
Oh, the Doc Ock
Doc
was
Ock.
absolutely fantastic.
It
in
was.
Yeah.
Spider-Man
It
2.
was very, very
Brilliant.
well done. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a good call.
this is tough because a lot of times, not to sound overly gatekeepy, but a lot of times when people say like, "Oh, this character is better than in the comics," and it's a long established like stuff like that. Usually, it's like, "Oh, well, which comics did you read? Which ones did you know? Did you read all of these? Like, did you read this classic one where he does this thing? That was really cool." But it depends. Like, I don't know if I'd use the term better, but like, I would say Chris Pratt as Peter Quill is a more accessible version of that character.
Oh, that's
know-
that's when
yeah.
you got to start asking questions about what you've
Star-Lord,
read.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, that's like he's so different. And I think he's easier to digest for like a mainstream audience, but I wouldn't say he's better than the comics version. Like stuff like that.
I'd say the same thing with it's not necessarily better, but the actualization of the character on screen. Hugh Jackman as Wolverine really did it for me.
Nope.
I
Oh,
never.
man, Doc's
Hold
gonna
on,
hate that.
Doc,
He thinks he's way
hold
too
on a
tall.
second, Doc. Hold on a second. I didn't think we'd ever see Wolverine on screen, and as good as, I mean, if the X-Men was going to be good at all, it had to be because like Wolverine didn't suck, and I don't think he sucked, and I thought it was really good.
I think
he's
the
stuck.
on-screen version of Toad is better than the comic books. The
That's
stupid haircut.
possibly, yeah.
I'd have to go with Bucky. Like the relationship with him and Cap makes more sense in the movie than it does in the comics.
I don't know. Winter Soldier is one of my favorite Marvel stories of the past 15 years.
Oh no, I love that story, but I meant the relationship with Cap and him. Like he's a kid in the comics and going to war.
I liked the way Brubaker handled that in explaining it, that he was an army brat that had been training since he was very young, and he was
He was
basically
a spy.
He was a spy.
Yeah.
That nobody would expect.
Mhm, 'cause he's a
And
kid.
that actually made sense, because up until then I always thought it was goofy too.
Yeah.
But Brubaker made it work.
Yeah.
The movie version was just generic expected best friend.
Mm.
There was nothing unique about that Bucky. He was just guy that went to war.
All right. We got a topic. Howdy. He says, I go back to Batman, the animated series, and the Batman Adventures is the best blend of media synergy that was still distinct from them in continuity series. Love the discussion. Paul Dini. That's good.
Animated series is great. Do you ever start watching that, Wes?
I
Yeah,
have
right.
watched a little bit.
Oh, okay.
What are you trying to call me out on my own show? You're not even watching Raw anymore. Don't even give me crap. You don't even watch SmackDown.
It's for the best, man.
Need a break.
Need a break. I saw somebody say something about Drax and Peter Quill were dumbed down, Star-Lord.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because like Drax, isn't he like he was like super stupid back in the day, right?
Way back in the day, he
Way
was
back in the
ultra
day.
stupid.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like really dumb.
And then
Yeah.
and then
Like,
around the time of Infinity Gauntlet, they started making him a little smarter.
Yeah, and like I love like Mantis is such a great character in the comics when she's done right and people care, and like way better than we got on screen. I have no idea what the hell that character is
She's
on
just like
screen.
horny for Bautista, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
that way. Is that what it is?
Which, you know, I think we all understand that, but you know, when it comes to
It's the
you
belly
know,
button
Mantis-
tattoo.
Well,
Yeah.
there you go. But she's such like an interesting character in the comics, and then she's just like kind of like a weirdo on screen that's a very like two-dimensional character, and I'm like, what? Why are we even bothering with this?
All right, Joe, as a Batman aficionado, what do you think about the synergy between Batman the Animated Series and Batman Adventures in Comics and the Adventures Continue? Do you think it's smart to keep these things connected? Or do you think Batman is so oversaturated it doesn't even matter if you try to do it?
I like it. I like how they did that, especially, you know, I really like Ty Templeton a lot, and he did a lot of those comics.
Yeah.
And you know, and Ty Templeton is and his wife are both going through cancer treatment right now. So you know, keep them in your thoughts. But no, it's yeah, I really like how they're able to do that with comics and the series. I don't know how much in terms of like sales, if there's you know people who are excited about the animated series still or still interested in picking it up to the same extent, but I really do. I like it. I like how close they kept it to it. I like that it felt like it could still fit in. So yeah, I mean, I'm all for that stuff.
Kenneth Dowling asks, "All the Punisher. What do you think of John Bernthal? I think he's great, especially when he was in Daredevil. When they went and did the Punisher series, they kind of decided to redo the character. I didn't think it worked as well, but he as a foil for Daredevil was absolutely brilliant."
Some of those rooftop scenes with you know, John Bernthal and the new Daredevil actor, I'm blanking on his name,
Charlie Cox.
but yeah, thank you, Doc. Yeah, it looked like it was just pulled straight out of the Frank Miller series. You know, it was really great to watch them interact. So yeah, I do enjoy John Bernthal. I will say at the end of season 2, there's like a 5-second clip where John Bernthal just unloads on some of these gangsters. And it's a great portrayal. It looks like something straight out of the old Chuck Dixon, you know, book. So I do appreciate his portrayal for sure.
We've got HH from Sigma Comics sending out shout outs to Wes DePanel at Thinking Critical for Philadelphia Fan Expo. Keep it tuned in and support them. These guys don't hold back, especially Doc. Absolutely. Definitely support HH and the guys over at Sigma Comics. If you were at the Philadelphia Fan Expo, definitely go out and seek out the booth, talk to the guy. As MVP mentioned earlier, he's a real nice guy. Super duper friendly. You will enjoy it. So thank you so much for supporting the channel. We got Yellow Spider-Man #2. Forget better. When has the comic book movie adaptation ever 100% accurately portrayed the comic book character? The movie is called Dread. That is the best, most comic accurate movie ever, in my opinion.
Dread.
Amen to that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else got one?
Didn't see Dread.
Man, you
The
should
first
see
one
Dread. If you
killed
like
me.
the comics.
The first one killed me.
That was so bad.
but no
Sly.
but no Stallone ripping his helmet off like every other
I know.
superhero that just takes their mask off for half the fucking movie but keeps the costume on.
Definitely not in the movie Dread. He's just
Nope.
kicking ass for an hour and a half, 2 hours. The one lady's drugging people, throwing them off of buildings, skinning them alive. That thing was fucking brutal. It was brilliant.
Yeah, Dread. Period.
I think that might be the only answer. We've also got Kenneth Dowling. I've long thought about this. I like Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, but that is not really an accurate depiction of the character. They just let RDJ remake it in his image. If you could recast, then who? If I could recast Iron Man. Well, I'm
Aren't
definitely
they
not
already doing
doing
it?
Tom Cruise.
I know. No.
You know what I'm saying?
Nobody old. That's for sure.
However, he will never die, and he will still look exactly the same. 50 years from now, he will somehow still look exactly the same. So you can make movies forever with him.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know. Who's a dapper 40-year-old, 35, 40-year-old actor, Joe, that could be an Iron Man?
Oh, geez. I'm not sure because
Jesse Eisenberg.
Oh God,
No.
fuck you.
No.
Like there aren't, like, I don't know, because it's like you want Tony Stark to be a certain type of person, and
He's got to be an asshole. He's got to be a horn dog, but he also has to have presence to where people would listen to him if he spoke.
Yeah, it's
Nicolas Cage.
It's tough.
Nick Cage.
Nick Cage as Nick Cage.
I mean,
He's got-
I'd watch that.
Now that these actors have to play superheroes in movies, I never thought it was going to be, the superhero movie was going to be so prevalent in Hollywood that we would, I mean, it was a dream or a nightmare to read it in Wizard, after a while, all the movie casting things that they would do. But, I saw an actual discussion about, like, only things in theaters should be like, these blockbuster movies. And where does an actor go other than, I guess, like Apple TV to do something of quality?
Sure.
But quotes on quality, but, resorting or having to do superhero movies. I love superheroes, but I'm more of a comic book guy.
Yeah.
I want to watch movies or films to be movies and films. I don't necessarily want to see, after the X-Men, I really didn't need to see another superhero movie ever again. They did it. All right. Congratulations, but now it's just all the time. And I don't even know who the actors are. I'm such an age these days that I don't even know who an actor that could play Iron Man would be.
Oh, you know who the money choice is for it? If you wanted to reboot it, get someone younger who can play an asshole with charisma, Adam Driver.
Oh, all right.
He's so
God,
weird looking.
no.
I can't be a playboy.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he's
Those
like,
ears.
Yes,
What about-
but
he's like,
here's the
he's
thing.
like-
he needs iron like extensions for his ears. His helmet would look
But,
too
like-
weird. It'd be
But
like
we're
Dumbo.
talking about Mr. Mom pulled off Batman. I think, like, they always announce these casts and people are like, oh, I don't know. And then they end up doing a pretty good job. I think he could probably pull off, because he can be an asshole and he's got that, like, screen presence. I think someone like him could.
I tell you what, maybe this is just still, the WrestleMania high, but any of the Pauls would fit that character also.
Jake Paul,
Jerk.
Logan Paul. What about
They're
Idris Elba?
very fit. They've got a good
That
look.
guy can play anything. You know what I'm saying?
Idris
Idris
Elba can
Elba.
play anything.
He's a little
yeah.
thick.
Or
I
Michael B.
think,
Jordan? Maybe? No.
Can't we just get a good Fantastic Four cast first before we cast everything
What
else?
are you talking about? They
Oh.
got the old John Rosen.
The next Fantastic Four movie is just going to have all four of them are going to be Michael B. Jordan.
Right.
He
I
will
like
play.
that.
He will play Reed. He will play Sue. He will play Ben. And he will play John.
That's the Fantastic Four I've been waiting for.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, we got.
I mean,
Leif
he's
Graver.
not
He
doing
says-
Superman anymore.
Leif
Oh.
Graver says we've got the Kenneth Daly character battle, which we're going to actually have another one that Kenneth sent in. But this is Tiger versus Cheetah. Who wins the battle of mostly naked Catwoman? Joe, this sounds like this is a Joe question. Who you got, Tiger or Cheetah?
This it depends on when. It depends on which cheetah, because there's a few different cheetahs. I would lean towards cheetah if it's like the post-crisis George Perez version of the Barbara Minerva with the being like possessed by the god sort of thing. But later Tigers with other versions of cheetah would probably win.
What about the cheetah that's played by the lady on SNL that looks so not scary?
I think you just answered that question for everyone.
Oh.
So.
Look, guys, there's a very simple solution. This answer is very clear, obviously. Furries.
Furries.
Furries
The
win.
people with weird furry fetishes, those people win.
Mhm.
We all lose. I mean, Tiger
What do
might
you
try
think,
to fuck
Yule?
Cheetah.
Who's pulling this one out, Tiger or Cheetah?
Yowza. Yeah, I don't know if anybody has, if I'm going to take this seriously, I don't know if anybody between the two has a power set that's better than the other. So I'll just say Tiger for the bikini.
Very
Fair.
nice.
All right.
We're going with the bikini on that one. Thank you so much, Delay Kramer. And I think we are just about, I think we've covered the sales and we talked about everybody wanted to do. Let's get in a little bit of this controversy that was going on. I definitely want to hear what Doc had to say about this one. We had this article in Polygon.com talking about Omega Mutants and how they fixed it. And Leah Williams went out there and she said that customers are operating on a different level than the writers, and the writers don't have to concern themselves with power sets like customers do. I thought this was stupid.
The writers are the ones that came up with the fucking power sets to begin with. We didn't. Fans didn't. It was writers. Chris Claremont created the Omega class mutant. It wasn't like, my nerdy fat ass. It was the king of all fucking things mutants. No. So look, Leah Williams is a moron and is there for two reasons, none of which have to do with her writing ability. This is stupid and shows. Look, I mean, it's another glaring example of the massive disconnect that exists between the writers and the people that actually have to buy the comic books in order for the writers to still have a fucking job. And they believe it's just this entitled writer mentality. And yeah, I'm going to start referring to them as entitled writers.
Is it entitled, or are they just like, you always hear,
oh no, they're entitled. They have a wildly unearned sense of self-importance.
Well, what I meant was, you hear stories about, when I got the Spider-Man gig, I went into the Marvel vaults and I read all these issues so I could get ready for this thing. It sounds like Leah Williams didn't want to do that work.
Yes.
Or it just doesn't play into the story that I'm writing, so I'm going to ignore it altogether, if she ever knew it.
Well,
it also kind of sounds like people that grew up on the cartoon, you hear that a lot. My favorite X-Men, like when you're reading in the magazine and, the editor is asking, what was your favorite X-Men moment? Oh, when this happened in the cartoon.
When Morph died.
Like yeah, exactly. I never cried at a cartoon series until the time Morph died. It affected me so much that Morph's. I saw somebody say that a character was their. I can't remember what character. The character. The Reverse Flash, Eobald Thawne, right? And he wasn't sure on the name. Like, this is my favorite character because you saw it in something, but you don't really know that much about it, and stuff like that. And I mean, that's being a little prickish, saying it that way, talking about this person. But maybe you don't like things as much or know as much about those things, and you can actually, in the very least, look at the back of one of those Marvel cards so that you can find out the power set of someone.
Well, yeah.
But it sounds like that's not even the case.
These people don't even want to bother to crack open the Marvel handbook or the Marvel encyclopedia.
Right.
Those 2-page things that just gave you all the bio that you needed.
Hotmoo and Who's Who are still constantly talked about in the comic store all the time.
Yeah.
I remember those. I still have those. I used to have the 3-ring
universe.
binder ones, on and on and on.
Yeah.
I definitely think that this is a bit of laziness for sure. Like you guys both said, it's almost like she just didn't want to do the work. And so she's kind of giving an excuse to say, well, we're just doing it differently. But even if she did read this and all the previous works to this and read about Omega level mutants and everything, I still think that it comes to the extent to what you were talking about, Doc, about entitlement and this earned privilege that they think that they have now that they're on this book. Because I guarantee, even if she read all the previous issues and all the Omega level mutants, she would still think that she can write it better, or that she can write it her way that
Make it her
doesn't
own.
involve correct, right? And then she can say, yeah, and that's what my issue is, that she would think that she can change this whole Omega thing because she knows better than the previous writers.
These are writers that are obsessed with getting things into canon. That's their thing. Like they I get to put this into canon. Fuck you. It's not that important.
Or a movie.
Since y'all mentioned that X-Men animated series, I have this little piece here I got someone to draw for me a while back.
I'd make you big if I could.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah, that was a
Who
lot
did
of
that
fun
for you?
A buddy of mine, Robbie Barrett. We did a comic together a few years ago, but we shared a table, and I was kind of like, you don't have to pay me, but draw me something nice, and have him do that for me. So
And I'm not making fun of the cartoon.
No,
or
I
even
think you
people
are.
that I just want people to know out there. If that's your gateway, if
I
that's
have
your cigarette. That's
Yeah.
your cigarette. That's
Yeah.
great.
I got a buddy. He will talk to me. He knows I'm a huge X-Men fan, and he'll start talking to me about stuff, and he'll start talking to me about X-Men stuff, and then all of a sudden he just goes into all this stuff that was only from the animated series. I'm like, dude, that never fucking happened in the comics.
Right.
yeah.
None of this shit was in the comics. Look, I appreciate it. I know that you like it. That's cool, but you're conflating what was in the comic books and what was in the cartoon. You're talking about it from the cartoon. Like, it simplified the shit out of everything regularly.
I get people coming in, they want to talk about a storyline or something. And I tell them, the history of the storyline and what books you have to go and get it. And it was explained in one half of an episode of like the Winter Soldier and Falcon. And I'm like, you don't get it that way. You only have it that way, and it's just like, why did I even bother talking to this person about it? It's just
Right.
it's
I want to
so
jump in
frustrating.
real quick, fellas. We do have Pope Alexander the 23rd saying, "I'm new to the channel. Who are you?" Camera name. So I did show that. And if you want to support these people, a lot of them have their own YouTube channels. Carrie has her own YouTube channel. Dirty Girl Creates has a lot of manga content. Maxfield Vaughn Priestley, MVP, has his own comic book channel as well. Yule Carter has another channel. It's called Fantastic Comics. It's all about being a retailer and comic books and love of reading. Doc does not have his channel. He's exclusive to Thinking Critical for the most part. And Joe Corallo, he's kind of a comic book YouTube
He's a
board.
free
He's
agent.
everywhere.
He's
Yeah.
a free
Agent. He's
He's the bike that everyone takes a ride on. You know what I'm saying, Joe?
He's the top.
Oh, I know. But,
damn.
This is a joke.
Damn. Not even 7-Eleven.
But one of the things though with this article is that there are some other lines. Like my thing with this is it's less personal to just Leah, because when you're looking through the article, there's a bunch of things that make it very clear this is like an office mentality. You get the bit where after what Al Ewing was saying, but while the definition of Omega level was relevant to everyone working on the X-Men, it was by no means mandatory or even contentious. And then after Leah's remarks, they make it very clear this was a common refrain among X writers. So this is it's not just a Leah thing. This is the X office and how they're
and how
viewing
Jordan
it.
White doesn't give a fuck about the product that he's supposed to be overseeing.
But Al Ewing seemed to say that, hey, it's smart to have framework and have the powers
Because
laid out, where you know the universe that you're working in.
Because Al Ewing's an actual writer. Leah Williams is not.
But you know, I will say, like, while there are things in here that are clearly not worded maybe the best or the most diplomatically, there is something to be said about the writer's job is different from the reader's job, and that, you know, there are things, I'm not exactly sure if this is what they're getting at or not, but you kind of have to tell a certain story, or you're dictated to tell a certain story, and you can't necessarily let, you know, fans to an extent dictate where things are going too soon in a story. You know, if that happened, we wouldn't have gotten a lot of classics. If they immediately, like the example I always go back to with Spider-Man, when they killed off Gwen Stacy, if they listened to the fans, Gwen would have been back in like 3 issues.
Oh no, no, I get that. Well, they did that in Mexico.
Yes, they did. Well, she never died in Mexico.
Yes,
right?
she did die.
Phew.
The Mexican
Pretty
version,
smart.
they didn't kill her.
Yes.
And she's still alive, literally, and she's still got like a fucking. She got a dump. truck.
Bootylicious.
Yeah.
That's the way to put it.
But no, you are right. I mean, but the thing is, when the writers are just straight up wrong,
Mhm.
it's not an issue of storytelling at that point. It's an issue of ignoring the rules. Like, and we've seen this whole office just ignore all the rules. We just watched Ben Percy finish 12 or 10 issues that involved a Cerebro helmet that magically sends you into the past. No explanation.
Well,
Thank
there's
you for
also
your
a sword,
service there, Doc.
A sword that somehow still functions as a computer.
Sure.
Like when you just like melt all the circuits together and make a new thing, and yet it still somehow functions as a computer.
Well, I'm streaming off a sword right now.
Yes.
That's true.
and you know, so they don't give a shit about the rules. This is they've reached, that whole office has reached all kinds of nothing matters level.
Sure.
I think our beloved mutants just need to get off Krakoa. I think our X-Men are better served when they're in a position that are unaccepted in the world. You know what I mean? Because the whole the whole reason
that was terrible.
Well, Doc doesn't accept them at all.
I don't.
Yeah,
These are fucking pod people.
But it's, you know, because the whole reason for Krakoa, and correct me if I'm wrong, but from my understanding is that they wanted to put them in a scenario where they were in power, where they could control their world and everything, and they wanted to have that kind of dynamic as opposed to them being the outsiders. But the X-Men work better as that dynamic because they get to show off why they show compassion, why they show love, but also why they are strong, why they show their strength. And they just come off as a bunch of assholes when they have this whole Krakoa thing to themselves. So I would love to see our mutants just get out of Krakoa, please. just
We need some.
them out.
This is your brain on Krakoa commercials where they're hitting with frying pans.
Yeah,
They finally figure out that it's evil.
Well,
Nimrod
Marvel
is
put out
right.
that commercial for Krakoa, that animated commercial like a few months ago. Remember that?
oh no.
I
don't think I
actually-
stuff like that.
I think I've probably like blocked that from my mind. I might need to go back and revisit it because it was probably fucking terrible.
So we do have a super chat from Kenneth Dowling. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Shout out to Lane Kramer. Thanks for having me back, or having my back. Cheetah, hands down. Cheetah has godlike power, as strong as Wonder Woman is, as fast as Reverse Flash, and they traded. So there you go. Kenneth says it's absolutely Cheetah over Tigra. Thank you very much for that. Speaking of superhero fights, let's get into Kenneth Dowling's superhero fight. And if you guys ever want me to cover stuff like this, you just need to email me. This isn't like anyone could get one of these topics on there. He wants to know who would win a fight. Did Doc just leave?
Yes.
Yes, he did. Right here, this is the Doc special. We got Wildcats versus Alpha Flight. I guess he'll cover it last. Yul Carter,
Yes.
you're a big fan of Wildcats. You're a big fan of Alpha Flight.
Yeah.
Who wins this bad boy?
There's a lot of characters are very similar. There's God, I can't remember the name. Who's the leader, the robot leader of Wildcats? Spartan, and then him and whichever Vindicator are very similar.
Yeah.
You got two big guys in Maul and Sasquatch that are smart, and then the bigger they get, the dumber they get. Or at least somewhat. You got Void. I don't think there's anything like Void. Maybe Shaman is his power, and I'm going the first John Byrne version. Is his power only works in Canada? Or no, that's Snowbird, right?
Canada.
Yeah, no, Snowbird only can shape change in Canada, right?
No, I've seen Shaman work outside of Canada.
I'm thinking Snowbird then. Wrong person. I think the Wildcats win. They're probably brawnier and have a little bit more extra oomph with Void. She can teleport people to space, and stuff like that. Also, if we're talking storylines, let's talk about the books themselves. Wildcats was probably better for 50 issues than the first 50 issues of Alpha Flight. I like John Byrne a lot, but I'm not a big fan of 8-page backup stories too often. And his focus was less on the team and more on individual characters until they would meet up. And I didn't really, after Byrne left, you don't have all that stuff built up with the characters working off each other. Immediately Vindicator, well, you guys know, I don't say it, but, and then you have all the problems with Heather, and it's just, Alpha Flight's going to get defunded, and Wildcats are at least a real team. And then when Alan Moore comes on, I'm not the biggest fan of the space stories, but you get more development with those characters, and even his side team is much better than the side teams in Alpha Flight. So I think physically, in a real fight, Wildcats would win. And if we're talking about the first 50 issues, again, the Wildcats win. And
Chuck Gibson,
there you go.
Who's a comic book inker, and I think he might have actually inked some Wildcat issues. Says Wildcats might win the fight, but I like Alpha Flight better as a book. Goodness,
I can understand.
It's got longevity. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
I'm just surprised. Yeah. I think he's actually inked some Wildcats books back in the day.
Awesome.
He got his start under Jim Lee.
Yeah, I would. I'd say that Wildcats would probably win the fight. A lot of this also comes from, Alpha Flight was made. Was it X-Men 120? I think was their first appearance, and that was well before you started getting to everyone being crazy, overpowered constantly.
The 90s, where you had Liefeld come in and everyone had every power imaginable in one character.
Yeah, so the power sets for Wildcats overall are everyone is either a bio-enhanced cyborg or whatever, or they are that race that's nearly immortal and also happen to be super strong and fast and everything. So I would give it to that. I think there are probably more appearances. I'm more inclined to enjoy Alpha Flight, probably a little less in their own book than I do when they show up in X-Men related stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, I would say that. And I did actually, because you told us we were having this question, I watched some of that horrible mid-90s Wildcats cartoon last night. It's been a while since I watched that. And oh God, that is
Uncanny X-Men 120. Is that the one where it looks like all the X-Men are dead in a river?
Yeah, because Vindicator showed up.
That's
my favorite.
116,
I think.
That might be 116.
That's just the first Vindicator
where you find out
where you find Alpha Flights.
They're coming back to take him to Canada. I love that cover.
Yeah,
this is one of my favorite comic covers of all time. So that's beautiful. What do you think, MVP? Who's winning this Wildcats Alpha Flight? Who you got?
I wish I could speak more intelligently on both of these teams, but I haven't read as much as I'd like to. So just based off of art, I grew up with the Wildcats art and that type of monstrosity, muscular, like alpha look. And so I'll probably give it to them just because that's what I was picking off of the shelves, when I was looking around in these comic shops. So I'll go with them. But like I said, I wish I could speak more intelligently. Yeah.
Well, you've also got Lord Emp. He's the short guy. You got Puck on Alpha Flight, who's the short guy. And Lord Emp, he's got some stuff going on and is willing to shoot a gun, but he's also really smart and business savvy. Puck, I don't know. Is he a guy that had a demon inside him and he got shrunk down, or was that not really the case? And he's just really a short guy. I can't remember all the different Puck things that they've done, but I see a lot of the similarities. You got Voodoo doing her thing over in Wildcats, and then there's Grifter. He can shoot any of those fools, and he's a real good fighter. And I totally forgot Zealot. I mean, she's a kick-ass lady with swords. I still say the Wild. I agree though. The Alpha Flight they had limitations. Again, Snowbird can't transform into animals that aren't, Canadian based or something like that. It's one of those things. Either it's in Canada or it has to be a Canadian animal. Shaman's got some limitations. He's got to pull shit out of his bag and whatnot. And then the Wildcats, it's the go-go 90s, man.
Carrie, you're
Everybody's
pretty much
crazy.
from Canada. Are you going with Alpha Flight?
I'm not from Canada.
I said pretty much. You're from Pittsburgh. That's right down the south of the border. You guys play hockey, right?
I would.
A hockey state
I would
is
say
like
maybe,
Canada.
Maybe Wildcats.
Based solely on the cartoon, right?
No.
The lyrics to that theme song, not great.
No.
That's when everything had to have a jingle back in the day.
Yeah.
We do have
like
a couple of. Oh, sorry.
Oh, nope. Sorry. Go ahead, Wes.
We do have a couple of super chats talking about this. We got Kenneth Dowling. Alpha Flight has strength in numbers. If Wildcats have Mr. Majestic, who has all the same powers as Superman, it's over. Even without Miracle Man, I'll go with Wildcats.
Well, they had a side team also when Alan Moore was writing it. So you had who was Savant related to? She was related to somebody, and Mr. Majestic I think was over there, and a few other fools. So they've got a bunch too.
And Kenneth also says Puck has superhuman strength and agility.
Well, but Lord Emp is an alien, and up until the moment he died, you didn't realize that he looked the way he did. So he had some powers too.
I will say there's a great X-Men animated series episode where Alpha Flight tries to bring Wolverine back to Weapon X, or bring him back into the fold. And I believe Jubilee has to go save him from the facility because they trick Wolvie, back into Canada and everything. It was a cool episode, so I did appreciate how they did Alpha Flight there. But I'm still going with Wildcats.
Never go back to Canada. That's crazy talk. We got common sense here. This is about the previous topic. Power scales are important so writers can analyze how consistently powerful the characters are in the rules. I read comics for that too, to study the characters. It is important. You want to have some continuity. You want to have some type of structure to the characters. And when you read that character, you should know what the other character has to overcome. There should be, inherent things that they have to overcome when they see each other, because things have been kind of laid out as far as their powers. Although Omega 11 mutants are admittedly, they're untestable. They don't even know how powerful they are.
The thing about an Omega level mutant is a flashlight in the head will still take them out.
That's true. All right, Doc.
Yeah.
Actually, we'll throw this one to you too, Doc. Common sense. What's your opinion on Grifter and Voodoo in New 52? I know you're a
terrible.
Grifter guy.
Grifter was still relatively acceptable. They didn't change too much about him. They didn't deviate too much from who he was. I didn't like that they went back to the trench coat and the Vads. those weird like round guns that he had that looked like Star-Lords. I didn't like that, but Voodoo was just, it was wrong. It was just done wrong. She didn't
dumb.
have, it was poorly done. I know that they were trying to go back to her original, like, oh yes, she's an exotic dancer. From
It looked good. It was pretty pictures.
Yeah,
of,
it was pretty
of a
pictures.
scantily clad woman.
But it was just poorly written.
Yeah.
I was actually at a signing for Voodoo #1 at Midtown Comics with Ron Mars, and right when that came out, and when I got up there and I gave him my issue, he was like, oh, like he was, I'm forgetting exactly what he said, but it was along those lines of like, oh, was it, like, did you like how, like, like edgy, like kind of was? And I told him, I was like, I'm actually friends with like a lot of strippers, so it didn't really get me. And he was just like, damn it. And just
yeah, well, I mean, it's Ron Mars. He's got all of the edge of a fucking circle.
My goodness, Doc. Let's turn that crowd upside down, Doc. Who are you taking, Wildcats or Alpha Flight in this fight?
Wildcats. It depends on because primarily they have Majestic.
Yeah.
Between Majestic and Spartan, especially if you get into like the Jack Marlowe era of Spartan, he's fucking godly. Jack Marlowe and Majestic by themselves could wipe out Alpha Flight before, like, during a commercial break. And it wouldn't even be close. So yeah,
you agree with Kevin Dowling, huh? I think everyone kind of went with Wildcats on here.
Wildcats, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you got you have Maul, Voodoo, Warblade, Grifter.
Oh, Warblade! I totally forgot about him.
Yeah, you forgot about Warblade, who's basically their Wolverine, except for even more violent and even more. He's not limited to just the 2 claws or the, turning his.
And I miss '90s comics where every new character was so much better than the old character.
And he had green hair too.
Yeah.
We've got this is one of the things that happens, MVP. I'm not picking on you, but we have so many nerds that watch this channel like live when it happens. When you give out details, if you're wrong, they're going to correct you. Kenneth Dowling says Jubilee was not in that X-Men episode.
Whoa. Damn.
Oof. You got me, Kenneth. Well, thank you. I was going to say, yeah. I forget if it was Jubilee or not, but yeah, Kenneth, let me know, because I do remember the episode, but I must have gotten the character mixed up. But thank you for.
You got to put the answer in, Kenneth. Right there.
Yeah,
we should have.
That's how you really get
it on him.
Which
that's how you really.
I was away.
Let's talk about when Wolverine got tricked into going back up to Canada in was it who had to go in and
it was the X-Men animated series. He gets tricked to go back to Canada by Alpha Flight, and they take him to the facility, and he has to get he gets rescued, but I thought it was Jubilee who saved him. It may be Rogue, but I forget. Chad, if you guys know, take my nerd card right now.
I do not remember that episode.
Even
bunch of fake geek boys up here.
I know.
Right, exactly.
Right.
I mean,
Doc is the Heather Ontos of X-Men fans.
I liked X-Men the animated series, but I was much happier to just read the comics, to be honest.
Yeah, it's because you're a nerd, Doc.
Well, they didn't screw up, the all the Shi'ar story and everything,
And I mean, the only thing
Bob Harris, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Hey, I was
for making X-Men as successful as they were.
Honestly, I still prefer.
Backwood says it's Iceman.
Oh, maybe
different lady altogether, guys.
I was about to say, I don't know about that.
He was wearing an ice gown too.
Maybe.
No, honestly, compared to, I actually like the Pride of the X-Men. One, the pilot that they did that never got turned into a show, excluding the Australian Wolverine.
The Australian Wolverine. Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
More than I did.
No, I
more than
really
did
like
the-
that one.
Yeah, more than I did the X-Men animated series. I thought the animation was better in that too.
Oh, it
Trey
was.
Michael
Well,
says it's Beast.
it was Beast. Man, we got.
So it's like,
everybody's
has
saying
everyone
different
saved him in this episode? Like, what is this weird like thing going thing where everyone's
It's-
just
you know,
Go watch
remembering
it
this?
now.
The entire
Kenneth
X-Men
is just
came to
dicking with us,
Canada.
man.
It's the
things. Oh, I'm sorry. It was Jubilee all along.
it was
Yeah.
it's the Mandela effect of X-Men. That
Oh,
one
yes.
episode of X-Men the
Berenstain, I
animated
think.
series. Yep. It was the Berenstein Bears too.
Yeah. Yeah, God.
And
that,
we've got a
oh.
tropical storm going on right now, so every once in a while
I was
my
wondering
phone
what that
tells me that
was.
it's raining really hard.
Oh,
It
wow.
might be dangerous, but we're doing all right here. Have we talked about the superhero fight? Let's get to the other really big news that's coming out. We just had the Warner Media Discovery merger coming together now. I guess it's Warner Brothers Discovery is the name of the company. They know that there's going to be some changes, most likely to DC films immediately. It sounds like there's a good chance that J.J. Abrams, Ta-Nehisi Coates, Superman never sees the light of day. Apparently, they've been having emergency meetings about Ezra Miller. This was before that stuff even happened. Joe, you're a big fan of the movies. What do you think about this merger? Are you excited about the future of the DCU? Do you think David Zaslav and the guys from Discovery can do something about it? Fix it?
Maybe. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I'm fine with Ezra Miller being gone. I think most people are. I don't think there are that many diehard Ezra Miller fans out there. I don't really need
MVPs. He's the diehard Ezra Miller fan. I know.
but no, it's like
My
that.
favorite
I
Flash.
mean, I don't need another J.J. Abrams movie, let alone a Superman. But so like, I'm fine with that too. I liked Shazam, and it sounds like they still want to move forward with Shazam, Black Adam, and building that up. So
I love that Shazam movie.
Yeah, that was good.
so
Yep.
I'm down for all of that. Yeah, I think this could be fine. Maybe it'll make things a little better. I mean, I also enjoyed Peacemaker. I know they're moving forward on season 2 if they keep that up. Yeah, I mean, I think this should probably be no worse than what was going on. I don't know how it gets like worse.
As a
Look,
comic pro, I imagine you have friends that work at DC Comics. What's the scuttlebutt? Are they
Sure.
excited about this? Are they nervous? Is it another day at the office?
It's a mix of people. There are people who are like, now that we've been through this fairly recently, what happens. And there are also people who are, panicking. So it's a mix.
I know
Have your
one
resume
thing.
ready.
Mariko Tamaki don't give a fuck.
No.
Oh yeah, no, she's doing great. She's
don't
doing
care.
fine in the. She's so entrenched in the YA book market now that it doesn't matter.
She's not Dav Pilkey.
She could take it or leave it. Yeah, but she's had a career before her DC run, so like she's ensconced and she doesn't care what editors have to say or anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, are these rumors behind the
and-
scenes, or is this like
This is
coming
a
out
true
on Twitter?
statement. I mean, I don't know it for sure, but it's what I've heard.
You just heard
Yeah,
that.
I've
'Cause
heard.
I would believe
shit
it
like that.
reading.
Well, I'm
Shadows of the Bat.
extrapolating that she doesn't care from everything I've heard about her, and she don't care.
That Abrams Jordan Superman movie was dead before its announcement, the same way that the Ava DuVernay Tom King New Gods movie was dead before its announcement. There was no chance in hell of either of those movies ever getting made.
I would
So this
suggest
doesn't surprise
New
me.
Gods period was probably
Yeah.
no chance in hell.
Yeah,
regardless
it
of who's
didn't.
working
It
on
did. Yeah, exactly. In the same way that doing a even possibly Calvin Ellis Superman movie is never going to happen.
Oh, but I have so many.
Sorry.
of those comic
Doesn't-
books.
Doesn't matter.
Oh,
That movie is never happening.
I'll sell the shit out of those.
You might as well hope for a fucking Paste Pot Pete movie.
I'm still hoping for President Superman, please.
Yeah,
Well,
you're-
they-
For Millie the Model.
but both of
Yeah,
those.
Million that'd be great.
Yeah, those movies were never going to happen. So
Amy Schumer.
I don't think this has anything to do with the Discovery Warner merger. By the way, I'm going to call it Discovery Brothers from now on.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
And yeah, so yes, there's going to be a big shakeup. Ezra Miller's probably going to get a slap on the wrist, but not fired because
Especially if the Flash movie does well next year.
yeah,
Yeah.
Rid
the
of him, they
movie's
got a
already
sequel to
done.
make?
Yeah, they're not gonna. Well, first of all, I don't think it's gonna be successful enough to get a sequel. But regardless, I don't think that they're gonna fire him just because it's such bad PR. You know, Ezra. We all seen Ezra.
Worse
Miller.
PR than choking a woman out and
Yes,
like choke
actually,
slamming her and then breaking into someone's hotel and like stealing
fire
their
a
stuff
gay,
and saying that you're calling the dude's wife a slut.
fire
We
a
all gotta
gay
blow
lead.
off some steam sometime.
Hey, you catch me on my worst days. You don't know what you're gonna find.
Sorry,
Exactly.
Fuck somebody up.
but it's going to be worse. Worst PR is fire the gay lead in 2023 or 2022 that is perfect at making himself the victim all the time.
Look, only Wayne Brady gets to choke women. Okay.
Yes.
Wayne Brady gonna have to choke a bitch.
So
That was a good episode, man.
they're not going to fire him. They're just going to fucking mitigate. They'll probably just give him a massive pay cut or like wipe out his. They'll
They
be like,
just
all
might
right,
not work with him anymore. Also, I mean,
Yeah.
look, you can put anybody behind a mask, and already there's enough people screaming for the television guy, which I thought would have been smart anyway, because
Yeah.
he was only in a few minutes in that Justice League movie, from what I understand, and it would have given the appearance that the TV and the movies are somehow related anyway. They really blew it on that one because
Well, they
it was
did.
a
He was
real
only in
needless
for a
scene.
few minutes of Batman versus Superman. In
That's what I'm
Justice
saying.
League, he was a bigger part.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, then you work on it, but it's a shame.
but they're
That'd have been good.
they're not firing him because it's 2022 and
I don't
nobody
know,
gets
man.
fired.
I'm writing this down because I think this has a future Doc was wrong moment.
Okay.
For me to bring up.
Well, you're hoping.
I hope to God the guy gets
4-9.
fired. I am so skeptical of any actual justice being had to anyone that will pull an I'm a minority card these days.
Man,
doesn't
I got a
matter.
good story about Justice Doc. You want to hear it?
Go for it.
So when I was in Afghanistan, we have interpreters, and normally they weren't from Afghanistan; they'd be like from Pakistan or India, or whatever. And they would work for us, and because I'm kind of sort of the boss, I'm like the next guy. So we got to get these guys into a place to live on the side of the mountain, which there isn't a lot of space. So you had to put them all in one building, or actually it wasn't even a building; it was more like it was temporary housing. It was like a mobile home type thing. And so we put these two guys in there, and the one dude that I think he was from Afghanistan, and he put his stuff on the guy above him's top bunk. He put his stuff up there, and he was like, he sat it up there while he was making his bed. And the dude that was from India was like, "Move your stuff now." He's like, "I'm making my bed. I'm just going to do that." So he grabs his stuff and he tosses it on the floor, which apparently was very disrespectful. And so the dude goes up to the younger man that had put his stuff up there and like started yelling at me. He just open hand slaps him right in the face. We're like, "Oh shit, this is bad," because these guys, there's not a whole lot of them out there. So we don't go into this meeting, and our boss, he was in the army, and he had left because he was having his first child, and he finally gets back to the FOB, and he's getting his introductory meeting to meet all these new interpreters that he has. And this fucker from India said, this man insulted my wife, because he said his wife was a whore. This man insulted my daughter, because he also said his daughter was a whore after he slapped him. He goes, "And I demand justice." And I remember old Captain McCurdy was like, "What the fuck did I just walk into?" I was like, "All right." He never got his justice. We fired him. But he's got big problems. It was great. He goes, "He insulted my wife. He insulted my mother. I demand justice."
That sounds like the Maximus speech from Gladiator. Father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance.
He's lucky we pulled that guy off him when he did. He was going to beat the piss out of him. That guy was like, I don't know, 90 or something. So you don't always get justice, Doc. That's what I'm.
No,
that's the
I
point
know,
of the
and
story.
yes, and my point is, At this point, if they could pull an "I'm marginalized" card, they will never be punished for anything these days.
I don't know.
And that's just the way the world is right now. And I'm fine. Well, I don't like it, but oh well. I'm just accepting that that's going to be the outcome.
Do you think that also is the case for Amber Heard? Because
Yes.
she also has a
Yeah.
job still at Warner Brothers.
Yes.
And,
Yeah, the same
and
way
our
she
man
won't
Johnny
get
Depp.
fired. The same way. Look, they're
Doc, you do realize women are the only true majority in the world, right?
I understand that. Doesn't matter. Look, Carrie, I'm not. You know what? I love you.
I know.
But let's just say, there's. I think the ability to gaslight the entire planet is part of that extra leg on that one chromosome.
Everyone turned off their camera because they didn't want to be
No.
associated with whatever the
I'm doing
fuck Doc
something
was
else.
saying. They knew he was going somewhere bad.
I want to tell you about another thing that this merger might affect, and this is a little bit more for Wes and you AEW fans out there.
I love AEW.
It sounds like when this Discovery merger occurs, they're going to go for a little bit more of a PG show.
I don't care about the blood stuff.
So all
Is-
the
is overdone
all the
anyway.
shits and all the blood and all the fingers in the air and saying all the words that they do to be all edgy the way they are. Don't
That's
get
not
used
what
to
I'm
that.
there for.
So
I'm
you're
there for
just
the good
gonna get
wrestling.
you're gonna get B tier modern
Doc,
era
you don't even
WWF.
watch wrestling. Come on, man.
Yes, you're exactly right, Don.
No. It's not sports
No.
entertainment. It's actually professional.
It will
professional
now
wrestling.
be
That's the
sports
difference.
entertainment through and through. It's not going to just
Right.
be Orange Cassidy.
I demand justice. You insulted my wife.
Hey, wait a second. Joe, did you ever go to that AEW show?
No,
Or
it's
that's still-
May 11th.
All right.
So,
I'm going to New York.
yeah.
I think we need another Degeneration X.
Was
he
that
didn't
real
know
blood
that.
for the
Yeah.
Wheeler U to fight? Yes, absolutely. He was really bleeding in that one. I've
corpse.
seen enough blood on AEW. I wish they would use it more sparingly. Now, as far as the super chats, we have some people that want to get in here. Kenneth Dowling's going to finally answer the question. He says Wolverine is captured by Alpha Flight in that episode you were talking about, MVP. Department H tries to take the adamantium out of him. That sounds painful. And Alpha Flight gets wise and stops them. And then Wolverine breaks himself out. It wasn't even one of the characters. Then Beast helps him in another episode.
So this is how I also had to justify it myself. I looked up the summary, and yes, so one of the Alpha Flight members pours water on the keyboard which loosens Logan's shackles to where then Wolvie's able to escape and get out of there. So it was one of that
So Kenneth
scientists in
Dowling's
there.
wrong.
So,
Alpha Flight freed him by pouring water on a keyboard.
yeah, one of them.
Hydro
Kinda-
Man. It was Hydro Man.
No.
So yeah, I was we were all kind of in the wrong. Wolverine
It was
gets out
close.
himself. Look at that.
No cigar. That's why it's good to be Wolverine. You know, you're kind of like that loner character. We got Common Sense. What's your opinion? This is a Doc question on Warren Ellis's latest Wildstorm universe. Are you disappointed that his new Wildcats miniseries was canceled before it was released?
No, I'm not disappointed that it was canceled because the Wildstorm was boring as shit. It was a superhero comic written on a CW budget. It was no different than it was
You saying it's
marginally better.
as bad as Earth
Yeah,
Prime Batwoman
I was
number
about
one.
to say the exact thing. It was a bunch
Lies.
of talking heads. Anything that would have cost money in a budget for development in live action got cut out of the comic book. It ended up everybody looked like it was bland human proportions. Everybody had really big heads too. But that could have just been the
Phil
artist.
Noto?
No, it wasn't Phil Noto, but it was honest. It was. Keep wanting to say John Paul Leone, but that's not it.
No, it wasn't him.
It was somebody. It was another like 3 named person. But regardless, I had I was terribly disappointed in it, and it started out okay. Then just when I realized that they were literally writing this to be storyboards for a CW show, I got so fucking bored and was never, just said no. And then whenever they announced
John Davis Hunt,
that's it. And then whenever they announced that Wildcats was coming, I'm like, okay, because because there was also that what's his name, guy that did Fallen Angels, Brian Edward Hill, that Michael Cray book. Like when they didn't even call it Death Blow, I'm like, oh god, the whole thing, that whole universe was done on television budget. In
Michael Cray was good
comics.
for like 6 issues, and then it kind of fell apart.
It was good for like 2 issues, and then I realized that all he was doing was killing evil versions of people with DC character names, and I didn't care about that. Then, but no, whenever they announced the Wildcats, I'm like, all right, maybe, because it finally led up to something. Maybe I was going to get some action, and then that never happened either.
Like you were hoping to get action with the book?
No, I mean there was going to be action in the book.
Oh, I thought you were doing something there weird. All right. Common Sense says Ed Brubaker needs to work on Abrams' Batman and bring back Aziz.
Oh, J.J. Abrams?
I'm
Wait,
assuming
what?
I didn't know J.J. Abrams had a Batman.
I don't think so. I don't know who.
Oh, is that the animated?
No, that would be Paul Dini, right?
Paul Dini and Bruce Timm.
Well,
Yeah, but I thought he was working with
Brubaker's working on, what was it? He is working on something with HBO Max on that, I think, new animated Batman series.
Oh,
He's supposed to be
really?
writing. He's supposed to be a writer on it, yeah. So I think that's what
Good for
he's talking
him.
about. Yeah.
Finally, he'll get paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finally.
Batman
Good.
Cape Crusader adds comics author Ed Brubaker to creative team. The acclaimed writer joined Bruce Timm, J.J. Abrams, and Matt Reeves on the animated series.
All right.
Oh yeah,
Excellent.
yeah,
I didn't even see
yeah.
that article.
And he also did Brubaker. He also did the Gotham Central comic book before.
Yep.
Before Greg Rucka, I think.
They kind of worked in tandem, really.
Yeah.
it was
Technically,
it was
every
before
other story.
Yeah, before he left and went to Wildstorm and then made his name there, and then went to Marvel.
All right, so we got Kenneth Dowling here says on the Iron Man front when we talked about who should replace him. Excuse me. People today may not remember this. You guys may. Way back in the day, there was a TV show called Matt Houston, and that actor looks exactly like Tony Stark did in the '80s comics. If that actor is the youngest is younger than I can cast.
Was that Lee Horsley? Is that who that guy was?
Oh, was that it?
Because there's a movie called Sword and the Sorcerer, and I think he's in that also. Unless I'm thinking
that's him.
Lee Horsley.
Yeah, no, you got
He
it.
ain't
Oh, he's got
younger.
the mustache and everything, doesn't
Yeah. Yeah.
he? Oh, yeah, that's really.
Well, as long as we're on that subject, Richard Chamberlain is the best Reed Richards. There you go.
Mhm. But yeah, they should have got Lee Horsley to do a cameo in the live action Hulk around the.
Oh yeah, that'd have been great. I remember the Thor and
Yeah.
Daredevil.
Oh yeah.
Rough.
With that
Rough.
Stan Lee cameo where he was in the jury or whatever. It was.
Oh my goodness. Because it was called The Trial of the Hulk, right? Or something like that. Yeah.
This dude has like the best '80s stash. It's like it's almost there with Tom Selleck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Magnum?
He was definitely a secondary Tom Selleck kind of guy for sure.
Man, that guy should have made a comeback when they made that. Was that Dirk Diggler movie, Boogie Nights?
Yeah, or at least he could be like a side character on like Blue Bloods or something.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he doesn't have the mustache anymore.
Is that show's still going on, isn't it?
I'm guessing. I don't know.
I don't know. Check CBS on Friday nights because that's where it's going to be. Ask your grandma. In fact, ask your grandmother. She might know.
I'm seeing her on Tuesday. I'll ask.
Does she
Oh,
watch Blue Bloods?
You're saying
Maybe.
Doc's grandma?
I'm seeing my grandma.
My grandma's dead. If he's seeing my grandma, that's a problem.
Yeah, I better not see your grandma on Tuesday. I've got things to do.
She's basically in Canada.
Yeah, I know.
Just
We've got
I'll
common
even say
sense
that.
here. He says no one remembers Zeus, the underrated Batman villain.
is that the guy that cuts himself up all the time?
That's Zaz.
Oh,
Yeah.
Zaz.
That's Mr. Zaz.
Yeah.
Is he the electrified monster creature? Oh, that's from Hulk. What was that guy's name? Zax or something.
Philo Zeus possesses surgically enhanced speed, reflexes, and vision enhancing goggles in martial arts training.
Of course, because if you don't have anything else, you
First
better have some
appearance.
martial arts.
Batman 582.
Oh, is he the guy that wears the Birkenstocks and kicks the shit out of Green Arrow when Judd
He
Winnick wrote that?
wears really weird goggles and he looks pretty shredded.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Well,
don't
he's an
think I've ever
epic
read a comic book
creation.
with that character that I remember.
We need to do a 6-issue miniseries on that right now, Tom King. Get on it. Elevate this character with Kite Man now.
Tom King.
Oh man, speaking of Tom King, what do you guys think about that new Superman? Yeah, it's good. Is it a one shot?
Yeah, it's a one shot. The Superboy
yeah.
one or
The Dark
Yeah,
Crisis tie-in.
Yeah,
I have a
We
think-
feeling
over there. We
that,
got new Superman comic books. Where is that one? New Superman comics. We got that one. We
Oh,
also got
look
the
at that.
new Mark Russell Superman Space Age.
boom.
But
Yeah.
I think with the Tom King one, I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and say it's gonna open probably with some purple prose over Superman and John doing some heroic things together, and then maybe at some point they'll have like a sit down and they'll talk, and it'll be really sappy and pull at your heartstrings, and then his teenage son will like go away as if it all never happened, and then they'll start getting more purple prose about what's real and what's fiction, and then I'll probably steal some like Alan Moore line and be like, this was an imaginary story, but aren't they all?
9-panel grid. John
Yeah, I
doesn't
like
know
that.
who he is.
I like
You know
all
what I
that.
mean?
Tom King. You've already written Tom King's story for him. Good job.
Yeah, no problem.
He's taking notes right now.
I hope so.
This week's Batman comic was so unreadable, but that's neither here nor there. What do you think? You're a comic book retailer.
Yeah.
Tom King does move the needle still.
Yeah.
Are you more excited about that, or are you excited to see Mark Russell's take on what he would be if he were Superman?
I don't know about that last part of that, and that's what's going to happen, but I am more excited for the Mark Russell take. It is still just an Elseworlds, but isn't everything that DC puts out an Elseworlds
They said
title?
everything is out of continuity and in continuity.
Exactly. So I'm going to take this only as itself. I'm not going to worry about that stuff. And I am going to go off the strength of the future state that he did. I really enjoyed that one, where Superman's working with Lois and the United Planets thing, whatever.
Mark Russell did that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I don't think he did.
Mark Russell has never
Yeah.
done anything even competent in his life.
No,
He hasn't
has.
taken a
He's really
competent
good.
bowel movement.
He's good. I like him. He's a jerk, but he's all right. He does good stuff. I like him.
Mark
And
Russell
Mike
manages-
Allred on art.
Oh,
Come
you're talking
on.
about that Imperious Lex story. That thing sucked.
I loved Imperious
yeah,
Lex.
that's-
Yeah, that was great.
You're a damn fool.
He was such a son of a bitch, Lex Luthor, in that, and really, he hasn't been that way in quite a long time.
Mark
And
Russell
it
manages
just
to
felt- it
fuck up
just-
everything.
It reeked of like the old Superman stories, and I really enjoyed that because we haven't got a good interpretation like that. And still, Supers is awesome, fighting for the little person, the little man.
You want to see some old
alien.
school Golden Age Superman where he's trying to get fresh with his cousin?
Well, there is
Cousin loving?
that too. I didn't really read a whole lot of Golden Age Superman.
Age.
I mean, it's to be laughed at and kind of have a little fun with the story, but yeah, the older elements were in that one. I enjoyed it.
I think
yeah, I
Joe
like
was a
Mark
big
Russell.
fan of Snagglepuss as well. You excited for that, Joe?
I never read Snagglepuss, but I did like. I've liked a bunch of the stuff he's done. I really like Not All Robots. That I thought was a really good
So
book. I liked. What else? I liked some of Wonder Twins. I didn't finish it, but what I did read, I liked. I just sort of fell off it right before the ending. But I do like My Bad at Ahoy, which is kind of like his take on like, it's kind of like The Tick, basically, where it's this like kind of like satire, like superheroes and all that. So it like scratches that itch because I really like The Tick. So yeah, and I'm a big Mike Allred fan. So I'm definitely going to check that out. Ecstatics is still something I really hold in high regard. I mean, I've liked Allred stuff since, like, he did that Brother Power the Geek one shot at Vertigo back in like '93, and I've really liked Allred for a long time, and he was also the best part, him and his wife, Laura, on Dan Slott's Silver Surfer run, which is not Silver Surfer, it's Doctor Who, but it looked great.
It did look great. Mike Allred's excellent. He's great. He's very good, and I agree. Second, Ecstatics, that comment about it, it ruffled a lot of feathers, but it was good.
Are you calling X-Force, the Allred Milligan X-Force, the first Ecstatics? And then whenever they relaunch it as Ecstatics?
It's just all the same. Yeah.
Okay. And then there was the giant-sized Ecstatics, and now there's the Excellent.
The Excellent.
Yeah. And there was that
current one
series.
Yeah.
But Allred, I don't think, drew that one, right? Like there was like that Dupe miniseries. I think Laura colored it, but like
it was Dragotta, I think.
Yeah, maybe. But it was still Milligan. But yeah, Allred couldn't draw it. But yeah, I like all that stuff. So yeah, I'm interested, and especially because it's going to be like an Elseworld that's also like a throwback to like an older era of Superman. Like I'm all for that. I'll check it out.
You can't pay me to buy something with Mark Russell's name on it.
Man, you keep saying that stuff, and I'm going to have you read this for Worst of the Week. We'll suffer together.
I may say no to that one.
Oh, you're going to say that one?
I have yet to use veto power.
Well, hey.
On a single thing that you forced upon me. I will not be literally assaulted that way.
Wow.
We do have a few super chats to get to. We got Wakazashi's Tea House with the 200 yen. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Are you excited for Chip's Batman run? I'm hoping. I saw somebody's head go up and down like he was excited. What do you think, MVP? You excited for Zdarsky's Batman?
Well, I was initially recognizing Wakazashi's Tea House. He's a great dude and has a great channel as well. But I think so. I mean, if anything is going to kind of pigeonhole the large amount of Batman that we're getting right now, the overarching or like the oversaturation of Batman, I think if people start to realize that there is a really good Batman title, hopefully they'll turn down all the other Batman titles, and then we can start to have a lot of great creators on like a single or a few Batman titles. But hopefully this will be the turning point in where people start really getting into that solo title of Batman as opposed to all the different spin-offs.
Yeah,
there's a lot of Batman out there. What do you think, Carrie? Are you excited for Zdarsky's Batman? Is that going to get you out of manga for a day?
Maybe. I'll wait and see your review.
It's going to look great. It's got Jorge Menez on. I bet. Did the pull list go up, Yule, or do they stay the same?
It's pretty much the same, but I'm ordering extra, hoping to get people on it. Sometimes there are Marvel people that don't buy DC books, and same thing the other way around. But the struggle. I mean, actually, it happens a lot more often than you'd think. So the struggle is trying to get someone to buy Batman that isn't going to do that. It's a lot easier to get someone to buy Batman than it is Superman and the other titles. So I'm looking at hopefully a major increase in Batman sales, because if I can get half the Daredevil readers and get all the Batman readers, and then probably a few extra people that haven't been reading Batman
Like
but are going
Devil's
to get
Reign or
excited to
something,
do
yeah.
it. Exactly. I mean, Devil's Reign, as the miniseries has been going on, I've been increasing my numbers, and even still by the sixth issue, you are not increasing numbers usually of a miniseries that's now over. And I sold out again. So it's been doing really well for me. I think this is going to be just the thing that Zdarsky needs to never have to work at Marvel and DC again.
So you can take
he's
that
gonna,
Substack exclusive.
Exactly. He's gonna. This is if he can't become we should be saying that he's the best writer in mainstream comics by this time next year. That's what should be with this Batman stuff. That's what I would think. Like he has the success of Devil's Reign, the love of his Daredevil stuff, wherever he's going to be taking Daredevil going forward with Chichetto. That should be solid. But getting on Batman, we might not see Daredevil go up in higher sales, but we should definitely see something potentially happen with Batman in the store, probably all over the place. Hopefully, get excited.
We've got Kenneth Dowling chiming in here. Since Chip is writing both Batman and Daredevil, did I say Chip? I meant Chip. Since Chip is writing both Batman and Daredevil, you think we could have another Marvel DC crossover with these characters? If so, it would be cool.
No,
I don't see that happening. Yeah.
If they were going to do it, now would be a great time. But being part of like corporations is like
Right.
Never gonna happen.
Yeah.
well, I mean, these companies could be so
So
in the dumps that they'll try anything.
the
That could
only
happen,
way this happens is if it's published through a third party. If they do, if some third party were to license 6 issues of Batman with both editorial departments having creative control, because neither one would ever agree on who the fuck publishes it.
and Daredevil kicking Batman's ass like it should be. You know what I mean?
They'll never agree to who publishes it. They're not going to do the way that they did the original JLA Avengers crossover from back in the early 2000s when it had, where Marvel did the first and third issue, DC did the second and fourth issue. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do the way that Batman Spawn and then Spawn Batman was, where one both companies published their own version. They're going to end up they may do it as a licensing deal with a third party. Like if Chip actually wanted to license it, maybe.
I bet Batman would cost a lot of money. Sorry, Kenneth, the doc is not all puppy dogs and ice cream today. He's the dream killer. You know what I mean?
I am the dream killer.
Yeah. We got Lade Kramer. The new issue will have Kal-El as an absentee dad. Lois will be heavy drinking, and John will turn goth listening to Punchline's podcast and hate life. That sounds like a Tom King comic book. And it'll skip time as it's doing it, so it'll be really confusing.
I agree. I don't like Tom King, guys. I gotta let everybody know this out there. I'm not a fan. I think he seems okay. I mean, he's a little weird, and I think sometimes talking about someone that puts himself in the characters, it feels like this guy is like very upset all the time. It's not a normal superhero story. His Superman was pretty good, though, if I remember correctly. So this could be good.
Sure, but just to address something that Lane Kramer brought up here, do people even remember Punchline's a character of this stupid podcast and all of that? Like, I feel like that happened, and people
that's the last one I read.
That's the last time I read it. It was so stupid.
Just out of curiosity, at this point, does anyone even really remember Punchline? She's already been
still in that Joker series.
Yeah, that's canceled.
Yeah, but she always DC has variant covers all the time, and for Joker they do 3 total covers, and usually Punchline's one of them. So as far as a character that's being seen on the covers of comics, it still is happening. whether or not you pay attention.
Because I haven't heard word one about Punchline in like 4 to 6 months.
She's hid away right now, and the longer she can be away to when she finally comes back, the better, probably.
Dollar Bin Harley is not gonna take off.
Oh.
Very
Well,
nice.
wait, she'll be in the TV show or the movie or something like that, and then boom.
She's
Boom.
an easy
Whoa.
cosplay.
This is like ripped from today's headlines here,
Kenneth Dowling, he agrees that Doc should be called the Dream Killer. Good villain name.
Yep.
Put your claim in, Doc. Like that's what
All
Yellow
right.
Spider-Man wants to test our manga knowledge. For the panel, which manga series have you read? I can already tell you right now, Doc doesn't read manga. I've read Promised Neverland. I've read a little bit of Berserk. I've read, I'm getting started on Demon Slayer. What else? I got My Hero Academia. Just like the normal stuff. There's another one I read where it was about I think it was a Chinese guy, and he used to be an assassin, but he retired to be like a stay-at-home dad.
Oh, the Way of the House Husband?
Way of the House Husband.
Yeah.
I read that because my wife has it. I got that for Christmas. So I read a little bit of manga. I need to get more into it. I think I would like my channel to eventually become half manga, half comics. Joe, what manga have you read?
I mean, have I like ever read? I mean, that goes like
Not the whole list. Just
Well,
give
it
a little
says
highlight.
published in the last
Yeah.
3 years.
published in the that's
That's
for
for Carrie.
American count.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
But,
for me.
Oh, thank
But
you.
no, I mean, like I've read a bunch of things,
Oh,
like
I see.
like Akira, Sailor Moon, things like that. But more recently, I dived into the Junji Ito stuff, like Uzumaki and all that. I finally started Chainsaw Man not that long ago. Kaiju number 8. I'm starting Vinland Saga.
Okay.
That's supposed to be good.
Yeah, that's supposed to be good. That's what I heard. I've read was it Mermaid Saga, the Rumiko Takahashi like horror manga. It's horror-ish, but they reissued that last year, so I picked that up, read that. That was good. So yeah, I've dabbled a bit.
What about you? You reading any manga?
No, I don't read manga too often. I mean, I used to. I used to watch anime, and this is like in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
So, like I can't read or speak Japanese, but the movies that we got were usually only in Japanese, and we had to struggle through it. But movie or anime and manga, you got to read Gray. It's like a 7-issue miniseries. It's the best. Of course, Akira is excellent, and if you can get the colored versions of it with Steve Oliff working on it, it's excellent. God, I want there's something else, but I can't quite. I saw it in the chat. Urasawa. Not only does he do Monster, and I think he's only a writer. He has an artist working with him usually. So there's Monster, but Pluto is it's kind of like Watchmen. The world's great superhero robots are being destroyed, and they have to figure out who's doing it. And at the same time, there's AI androids that live amongst humans, and we don't know who they are. We're following a cop that is one. It's really, really good. He also did 20th Century Boys. I agree with Ito. Uzumaki is really easy to get into. He does one-shot manga, so you don't have to like read an entire series. It looks better on the bookshelf because they're hardcover and everything. So yeah, definitely get him. And if you want to get a little racier, you should look at Junko Mizuno. Is that? Oh man, am I screwing it up? I think I'm right there. She does all the like the Hell Baby type stuff, and you should check that out in your adult section. Yeah.
MVP, you read any manga?
Yeah, I really like Blade of the Immortal. That's a great one. And Fist of the North Star. I just picked up that. Started reading that. That one's good. And then Lone Wolf and Cub. I mean, like one of the predecessors to all these great stories of nomads and wanderers So yeah, I really enjoyed that one. Vinland Saga is god tier, super great. And Trigun. I really enjoyed Trigun. That's what I was reading as a kid, and like have just continued to read that throughout. So those would be mine.
All right, Carrie, what American comics have you read in the last 3 years?
Well, I've gotten really into the Black Radiant books, the Rogue Sun,
Those are good.
Supermassive. I'm also been reading a lot of iconic comics, The Common America, Soul Finder.
Little Black Ops.
Yes, Black Ops.
Arc Athena.
Arc Athena. I did a review on that.
Arc Athena was sweet. I
It
got
is
that.
good.
I got
I
number
did-
2 too.
I
did
do
too.
read more back issues though when it comes to DC and Marvel, but I have been doing the Super Sons after watching Wes going on about that. So yeah,
You're welcome.
thank you.
It's really good.
That's Super Sons is so brilliant. Oh wait, we got Kenneth Daly in here. He says, "Oh my God," he said, "OMG to you, Yul." Even though you're an old man, I like it when the older gentlemen talk like the kids. I got to give you some props. I looked up your young Richard Chamberlain. He looked exactly like Reed Richards. Awesome.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always said this was before Wizard and the casting that they would do. We were in high school still, and I think he was doing like all those Herman Woke type miniseries adventure type things. Like I don't even remember what the names are. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We would always say he's the best. He would, he has the temples thing going on. He's old and mature looking, he's smart. He would have been really great.
Man, he's got the hair for it. No doubt about that one. All right, so we are coming down to the end of the road. We don't have a whole lot of time here. I know that you read Devil's Reign number 6, Joe. What did you think about the end of that event?
Yeah, no, it was fine. I mean, honestly, like event wise, this is probably one of the more enjoyable Marvel events I've went through in the past few years. It still suffers from what all of these suffer from, where there are splash page after splash page of heroes fighting either heroes or anti-heroes or people who used to be heroes. And I genuinely feel like you could swap those pages with pages from like King in Black or Empire or any events and no one would know the difference. But the story overall itself, it's like you kind of knew where it was going. Maybe a slight twist with some of the stuff they did with Kingpin at the very end. But I'm interested to see sort of them setting up this, what his son's going to do and all of that. So I think overall it was.
They also set up 2 heroes to fight each other after this. One of them being Daredevil.
Well, yes, that is also true. But yeah, so yeah, I would say overall solid event, like above average for what they've been doing the past few years. Yeah,
I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. What do you think, Yul? You sold out of that some bitch. You get to read it?
I didn't get to read it. It's fine that I know what happens. I've really actually enjoyed Devil's Reign quite a bit. It really incorporated characters that were street level. Obviously, they were going to be involved in this, but even like the Fantastic Four, I thought it was understandable why they were like involved and stuff like that. So I don't read any of the side stuff, but Devil's Reign, I'm down with it. I'm a little bit behind, but again, it's no big deal. I'll just read it eventually. But I liked it a lot. I really artwork. Oh yeah. But Joe's right. You get into these big superhero things, these fight scenes, and because of the side stories, I think there was back when Captain America was a Hydra agent, Secret Empire, there were bad guys being good guys. And we got that in like War of the Realms, if I'm not mistaken. And it does happen a lot more than I really want to see. The blurring of bad guys and good guys is look,
Steve Austin ruined it for everybody.
Well, it's true. Like the rogues, right? In Flash, like we care about Central City, so we'll fight for it. But the rest of you can F off, that type of thing. Hey, the Flash is our villain. You keep your hands off him while we're beating him up. That type of thing. Those are understandable character traits and why they're that way. But when you're doing like lower tier Spider-Man villains, I mean, when we get Stiltman doing stuff, I don't care.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Anyone else get a read Devil's Reign finale? Anybody else have any thoughts?
The kids of other characters taking on the mantle is always inevitably a flop. So it's never worked. It's not going to work now, but sure, let's give it a shot for the 73rd time in the last 10 years.
Well, all right. So does it not work because it doesn't work, or because they lose interest, or just say
because those characters are a novelty, and no one will look. You can't change Batman. You can't change Superman. You can't.
When he said children, he's talking about the child of Kingpin.
I know the child of Kingpin. My point is, you can never take mantle swaps outside of very, very rare situations. Never work. They don't work. They never will work, because inevitably somebody new being called that and being in that role is a novelty. Unless you plan to kill them and revert, it's not going to work long term, because it never has.
And then Leah Williams comes along and just ignores it anyway.
Yeah. Also, yeah.
Trying to tie it up.
So we've got Wagasashi's Teach House is heading out. I guess he was in Japan. So thank you so much for staying up with us. I was going to send a message, but now that I've said it out loud, I don't need to. Glad that you could make it. We do have the Fatal Diva in the house, Fatal J. He was going to be on the channel today, but he's actually at the beach. I guess they're doing a celebration. Imagine this right now. Fatal J is at the beach in his Speedo. You know what I'm saying? Banana hammock.
Wait. No, he's got to do more Bermuda style, I'm sure, right?
Well, hopefully he got a Brazilian, if you know what I mean.
Well, I'm sure he's a man of conscience. He would definitely do that if that's the case.
Oh, he's a married man. You gotta keep everything looking right. So I hope Fatal J is having a good time. He's actually going to be here with us next weekend. He was supposed to be our Warner Brothers DCEU expert, if we had one, but he's the closest I can get on the channel. So hopefully Fatal J is having a good time, but definitely Gabe. I think he's out celebrating as well. So I think we're done. Are we done? I think we've hit it.
Sure.
Let's get the hell out of here. MVP, what are you recommending this week? What comic book should people be reading?
Oh man, at the convention, I went to WonderCon, and like I said earlier, I would highly recommend any of Sigma Comics stuff. So any of the Here Comes Calico, and then I also would recommend any Michael Turner stuff. I bought a Michael Turner kind of like omnibus of Soulfire and all his like classic works, and I haven't even been reading it because I've just been so enthralled by the artwork. So anything Michael Turner, see if even the Batman Superman run, I love all that stuff. So those would be some of the ones I'm recommended this week.
I think Fatal J just called himself Fatalicious. You know what I'm saying? It's rough. My goodness. We got some other comic book recommendations out there. Carrie, you recommending any manga? Are you going American comics? What are you doing?
I'm going both. Common America #5 just dropped digital. I love it. And then also for manga, it's called Frerin.
Very
It's
nice.
got 3 volumes out now. It's called Beyond Journey's End. I recommend those two.
Wait, hold that book up again, please.
Sure.
Nice. All right, cool.
Nice. It's like a little fantasy book. And don't forget that Nerdy Girl has a live stream today. If you haven't had enough live stream goodness that we've had here, she's going to have Mark Pellegrini. She's going to have Tim Lim from Common America, the guys over at Iconic Comics. What are you guys going to be talking about there, Carrie?
We're going to be talking about Spy Family.
Spy Family. And the X is silent. That's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern?
Yes, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Man, Doc, you need to be there. This should probably be appointment viewing for you, and you can finally learn that there's good comic books out there that you can be reading.
No.
I don't read right to left. Unless there's an arrow that tells me to.
I have dinner plans at 7, and honestly, Carrie, as much as I like you, nothing could bore me more than listening to people talk about weeb
Listen,
shit
Doc.
for like 3 hours.
You can eat your Arby's in front of the TV and watch Carrie talk about manga and get you inspired for stories.
No.
Are you having a big one?
Come on.
No.
Yeah, I love
No.
Arby's. I'm so jealous of you guys. You eat Arby's all the time.
And when I'm done, no again.
Kenneth Dowling says he's heading out and had fun with you guys as always. The show Matt Houston is about as a wealthy tycoon who is a private investigator. Give him the iron suit. That's Iron Man. You're welcome. Peace. Well, thank you very much for supporting the channel. Kenneth, I really appreciate that. And, we'll probably see him on the channel here
So
within the next week or two.
Just buy up the footage to that show and then CG in armor.
Yeah, you could do it Mighty Morphin Power Rangers style.
Yes, exactly.
There they go.
Yeah. Make it happen.
And then release it on big screen in like all of its 1980s glory.
All right. So who else? Doc, what do you recommend? Do you recommend any comic books, or you just recommend that people get more Arby's?
I'm recommending Moon Knight. It was pretty good. It wasn't great this week, but it was still pretty good. I'm halfway recommending X-Men Red #1, but only halfway. It's another 0 issue. And I'm recommending that we find every copy of Marauders #1 that was published. We take it, we put it into a giant spaceship, and we send it to the fucking sun, as well as all of the data files, so that we can just pretend it never happened.
Yeah,
It's a bad couple.
Sure.
Steve Borlando, huh?
Steve Borlando.
Oof.
That was a rough one.
I'm sorry, Steve Orlando, and anybody that's related to him.
He had a good Midnighter
I'm
and
sorry.
I
Apollo,
just can't
Doc.
do it.
He did.
Just can't.
I liked him on Midnighter. I liked him on a Midnighter and Apollo. I've hated him on absolutely everything else he has ever done.
Oh, he disappointed me so much when he took over Justice League of America, and he was even using like that Grant Morrison Prometheus guy, and it was just so boring. I love that character, and it's just so boring.
Yeah.
All the
Alright,
Adams
well,
coming back, boring.
if people don't want to be bored, what comic book should they be reading this week?
Last week's Spider-Man ending the series was really good. I had to read like 5 issues in a row because we had been selling out, and I finally got them back in. And so when I did end up reading them, even that 92-point Bay with the Daughters of the Dragon, that was really good. Actually, it was more Monica Rambeau, if I remember correctly. That was excellent. And this week I read Batman, but I didn't read Shadow War until this book came out. So I read Shadow War Part 1, the Alpha, and the Batman. Great art, fun story. Williamson's doing the whole thing, and I dug it. I feel a little bit bad that Williamson's not going to be on Batman, but he's got something high profile coming up, so it's okay.
Yeah,
that's
Very
what I
nice.
suggest.
Joe, you recommend anything?
Sure. I'll also go with X-Men Red to a point, especially if you love jokes about Magneto using multiple names. It's hilarious.
There's only
But,
that was a good one. Huh?
Yeah, so many wonderful jokes. But I liked Excellent #2. I thought that was fun. The Thing #6, wrapping up that miniseries, I enjoyed that. This isn't out yet.
That Thing series is one of those either you love it or you hate it.
Yeah, that's
No.
right.
I love it.
But yeah, so
Is he still fucking that scroll lady that was obviously a scroll?
well, she's actually something else, and they resolve that at the end. And like,
okay.
spoil it for people, but yeah, I liked it. I like that era they went back to of Fantastic Four to tell that story. But yeah, so I enjoyed that. It's not out yet, but I got a preview of another graphic novel that TKO's putting out next month called Forgotten Blade by Z, who runs TKO, but it's really good. It's they got a European artist on it, so it's got that like European sci-fi comic experience, and I love that stuff. So definitely keep an eye out for that from TKO. And I've also been going back and reading the old Steve Englehart, Marshall Rogers Silver Surfer run. That's fantastic stuff. If you've never read that Silver Surfer stuff, check it out.
Yeah,
What was
nice,
the what was the TKO recommendation?
Forgotten
Joe?
Blade.
Forgotten Blade.
Yeah, it's really good. It's like it's got that epic sci-fi feel, and it's where it's like this like empire sort of like using like religion, but not like an actual like religion. We have how sci-fi does that sort of stuff. So it's really good.
Cool.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Obviously, I will have a whole video, not with Drew this week because he's at a one-day COD, but we are going to have Gabe from Weird Science DC and Comical Opinions filling in for him. It's going to be an indie heavy week. We're definitely going to be talking about Nottingham and Sumerian Hour of the Dragon #2. There's some really good indie comic books out there you should be reading. Definitely check out those two. And if you need more details, we'll be talking about it on the channel tomorrow. I want to say thank you very much to all the guests for joining us and for everyone joining us out there on the chats as well. Had a really good time, lots of fun, and we'll see you next week right here on the Comics Aficionados.